Chapter 199. Proud Ms. Tian. By this point, she had started to feel sorry for young Xiaoni. She sighed and consoled her. This girl was lucky after all, because the Xiao family was willing to accept her. When she was married, her life would surely get better. When Xiao Sanlang offered help in the field, he solved all the problems immediately. People in the Yang village expressed their jealousy for young Xiaoni's luck. Some even regretted why they did not go to the Xiao family to ask about marital connection before the Yang family did. The Xiao family is such a good family that no one else will be able to exceed them. Xiao Sanlang looks quite honest, but he treats Xiaoni so well. When I look carefully, I think he is very good-looking. We all say that dumb people have their luck. Look at what young Xiaoni has got. Some were also feeling sour and jealous, and whispered amongst themselves. The Xiao family have to marry her because they already made the offer. Otherwise, who would want to be married to a family like that? True, Yang Liang and his wife are not easily driven away. They will always make trouble, which no one can stand. I wonder how Ms. Fang would treat young Xiaoni when she is married. Ms. Fang is a very fierce person. We can't really say that young Xiaoni is lucky for now. That is true. But no matter what the whispers were like, young Xiaoni was feeling happy, guilty and moved. She wanted to throw herself to Xiao Sanlang and promised to stay devoted to him thoroughly. Yang Liang and Ms. Tian were also very proud. Ms. Tian did not show any respect towards Xiao Sanlang. She kept buzzing around him, telling him to offer help whenever he could and not to forget about their family later on. But the couple said nothing about young Xiaoni. Xiao Sanlang ignored and snorted at them as an agreement. They did not care about Xiaoni or what her life would be like, so he would not care about the couple either. He would not have shown up, but for the concern that the couple would change their mind about the wedding. 2 days before Xiao Sanlang's wedding, Qiao Xian, Ms. Su, Xiao Taotao were helping Ms. Fang get ready for Xiao Sanlang's wedding in the afternoon, when a silhouette rushed in suddenly. She threw herself to the ground on her knees, crying at Second Miss and kept kowtowing. Please help me, Second Mississippi. I am sorry for what I have done. I promise that I will do whatever you want me to do, but please take me back, Second Miss, please. The crying was loud and miserable. Qiao Xian and Ms. Fang as well as everyone else present there got startled. Qiao Xian was curious. Are you Lu Yan? Yes, I am. Lu Yan screamed even more loudly. Ms. Fang and the others had their eyes wide open, feeling absolutely shocked. No wonder the whole gang looked as if they had seen a ghost. The girl who was kowtowing in front of them was not like Lu Yan of the past. When Lu Yan first arrived here, she was lazy, arrogant, always well-dressed even though she was not wearing any special makeup. But her hair had always been combed neatly, and she had embroidered shoes as well as a handkerchief with flower patterns. However, this woman in front of them had unkempt hair and was wearing shabby old clothes with patches, which were apparently too small for her to wear. She was kowtowing so her face was not seen, but she must have suffered a great deal in the recent past. Chapter 200. Revenge. When she was kneeling in front of them, Lu Yan looked totally different. In fact, she resembled a refugee. Ms. Fang suddenly realized what had happened. She snorted slightly and then sneered. Qiao Xian gradually understood too. She cursed inwardly that it served her right. Ms. Niu seemed to have spared no efforts to torment Lu Yan. She must have ripped Lu Yan's clothes and given her what Xiao Meiling had already worn out. It could be seen clearly what life Lu Yan was leading when she was working for the second section of the family. Evil always received revenge. All right, just stop crying. What rules do you have by crying so loudly in front of your master? Qiao Xian said calmly. Lu Yan's cry stopped suddenly, but she continued to sob. Okay, Second Miss, okay. She was no longer as arrogant as before. Second Miss was going to be her savior. She had realized that it completely depended on Second Miss whether she was going to be rescued from where she was now. Qiao Xian did not want Ms. Qiao and the others to see what she looked like currently. So she smiled at Ms. Fang. Mom, this servant doesn't seem to be in a good condition. I will take her somewhere else and ask her what is going on, so that she doesn't dirty the room. Ms. Fang nodded. Okay, do as you want. Then she sneered. It serves her right. She was arrogant, lazy and always greedy for food. Qiao Xian laughed. True, otherwise she would have continued to assume that everyone is as friendly as our family. Qiao Xian ordered Lu Yen to get up and took her to her wing room. Lu Yen, who had found the wing room so terrible earlier, believed that it was her safe bay at this moment. Lu Yen soon kneeled down and cried, "Second miss, please, I am sorry, please take me back." The second section of the family was so horrible that she never wanted to go back there. The first day she arrived there, she was ordered to get changed by Ms. Niu, who said that a servant did not deserve to have such good clothes. But those were not good clothes at all. They were just made of cotton. She had been sneering at them for being so narrow-sighted that they had never seen anything good. She could not help but look down upon Ms. Niu, who slapped her right on the cheek. She felt her ears buzzing, and had to obey whatever Ms. Niu said from then on. Ms. Niu and Xiao Meiling as well as the other members of that family kept ordering her to do all kinds of work, as if they had never ordered anyone before. What was more, she was overloaded with all kinds of housework. It included laundry, cooking, wood chopping, fire starting, dishwashing and yard sweeping. Apart from that, she was instructed to serve them tea, do massages and dig the ground in the yard with a shovel. If she failed to do anything, she would be scaled, beaten and slapped on the face. Just one day before, Xiao Meiling suddenly got annoyed and started to kick her. She was pushed to the ground and constantly kicked, before Xiao Meiling finally stopped. She suffered so terribly that she just could not get up. The moment she got up, Ms. Niu ordered her to start the fire and cook. Moreover, she was starved. She was fed only light porridge every single day. She did not even have a piece of pickle. Ms. Niu said that she was just a slave who deserved nothing more than porridge. Only then did she realize how happy her life had been when she was working for Second Miss, who gave her decent food. She was asked to sleep in the straw pile during the night, and had mosquito bites all over her body. She felt so itchy that she could not fall asleep at all. But that did not excuse her to rest the following day. She had to get up and continue to work. She had never understood how difficult life could be before this. Ms. Niu was very tricky, and kept her eye on her throughout the day. Her room was locked overnight, and she could not escape even if she wanted to. Chapter 201 Different Second Miss Lu Yen found a single chance to escape, so without hesitation, she hurried back to Second Miss home. She would have soon died if she did not escape. Ms. Niu and her whole family were monsters. Lu Yen begged as she cried heavily, expressing how miserable her life had been. She looked so pitiful. There was no change on Qiao Xian's face and she stood there motionlessly. Okay. Qiao Xian interrupted her, after hearing that what Lu Yen said were just repetitions. She sneered. It seems that second aunt-in-law has taught you a good lesson. Now you are more prudent than before. Lu Yen stiffened as she felt a streak of coldness flashing across her heart. She started to shiver. She gasped, and uttered no words. Qiao Xian sneered. I will bring you back to the Qiao family on the 15th day of August. But what are you going to tell Madame Qiao and Qiao Wei? Lu Yen was both happy and scared inwardly. It was not yet June and the 15th day of August was already so far away. But Lu Yen did not dare to counter her any more. Instead, she said politely, I will not say anything bad about you, never. Oh, really? Qiao Xian sneered and said calmly, but you will be out of my reach by that point. How can I trust you? Or what can you give me so that I can trust you? Lu Yen was startled. I really won't. Second Miss, please believe me. Those are just bags of wind. Qiao Xian said coldly. You think I am soft-hearted and will answer to your request just because you beg me? You think that I am like before? Lu Yan's heart skipped a beat. She did not dare to look up when her thoughts were seen through. What on earth had her elder miss entrusted her to do? What made the second miss change so much? She had thought that just because she was given by Madame Qiao and elder miss, second miss would not do anything to her, and would even hail her to the sky. But now, it seemed that her dream of dominating the Xiao family had already broken, and one single farmer's wife had nearly driven her to death. She had told Ms. Niu and her family that she was given by Madame Qiao to the second miss, but Ms. Niu snapped. So, you are working for my niece daughter-in-law? Well then, she allows me to order you around, and so I shall. That made her totally speechless and helpless. She did not dare to say that she was the spy, otherwise she would have been killed. Qiao Xian snorted. I have to get a bargaining chip from you, right? Lu Yen suddenly felt that something bad was going to happen. She said in a shivering voice, Second Miss, just tell me what you need, Listen carefully, I want you to curse Madame Qiao and Qiao Wei, and I will write every word on the paper, and you need to make an imprint, sealing it. If you dare to say anything bad about me in the future, I will present the note to Qiao Wei. Even if she revealed some secrets to Qiao Wei, she would not forgive her when she heard something bad about her. Secondly, I want to hear 3 terrible things that Qiao Wei has done in secret, and I will write them down for you to put a thumbprint on as well. Thirdly, I want you to swear on your life and future that you will never reveal anything about me after you leave this village. Chapter 202 Bad Luck. Fourthly, get 1 handkerchief of yours and give it to me. You should have a few in your luggage, right? Qiao Xian said as she rolled up her sleeve and checked her arm. After a moment, she put it down and checked the other. She smiled. You have 1 black mole close to your left shoulder. I will bear that in mind. If you dare to set me up, I will hand over your handkerchief and tell the position of the mole to the hooligans in the town, who may use this information to get you to become their wife. Do you think that they will refuse such an opportunity? As long as someone holds the evidence and says that you and he are in a relationship, do you think that Madame Qiao will defend you or hand you out to the hooligans? The more she said, the paler Lu Yen became. When she was done, Lu Yen let out a cry and collapsed on the ground. Her heart was throbbing and she was in such a fright that she could not even get up. She leveled a frightened look at Qiao Xian, feeling shocked. She had lost the last hope. This was not the obedient second miss she knew of. This second miss was evil. Qiao Xian smiled as she looked at her calmly. You can either say yes or no to me. Accordingly, I will know if I should either send you back to my second aunt-in-law's home. So choose well. Qiao Xian had no choice but to utter such harsh conditions. Lu Yan's contract was not in her hands. The moment she returned to the Qiao family, she would tell all kinds of stories about her. Hence, Qiao Xian could not just believe her vows. She needed to gather all kinds of proofs to prevent this girl from harming her. Otherwise, the moment Qiao Wei learned about the real side of hers, she would never leave her alone. She was not in a position to fight against Qiao Wei. It would not work even if she found an excuse to keep Lu Yen for the mid-autumn day. That would make Qiao Wei feel that something was wrong and she would refuse to stop spying on her. Lu Yen collapsed totally. She sobbed, shivering. I will do whatever you say, please. Second miss. She had no other choice. Qiao Xian smiled. Good, you are teachable. Don't worry, I have no interest in your Madame Qiao, Elder Miss Qiao and you. As long as we live separate lives like in the past, then all would be fine. Qiao Wei doesn't necessarily need to know what I am like, and I can always lie to her, right? Don't be so nervous. Yes. She was very nervous, but there was nothing else she could do. Qiao Xian did not think that Lu Yen would dare do anything bad after all of this. This was a good guarantee for her and the Xiao family to live a leisurely, free life. Tidy up, boil the water in the kitchen and take a bath. Get changed and then we will sign the deal. Qiao Xian left after saying this. Lu Yen collapsed with her hands over her chest, struggling to get up from the floor. She was having such a miserable time. Qiao Xian came to Xiao Yunduan and narrated the whole thing to him. She needed Xiao Yunduan to write the agreement, since she was not so good at it. Moreover, Xiao Yunduan was the only person that had the right skills. Qiao Wei has Lu Yan's contract, so this is the only thing I can do to keep down Lu Yen. You won't think that I am too ruthless, right? Chapter 203 Ms. Fang alone. Qiao Xian felt a bit anxious. She did not want Xiao Yunduan and the Xiao family to consider her as evil. She was an innocent person, and expected to live a peaceful, leisurely life. Evil and ruthless? Xiao Yunduan did not know what to say. His wife must have gotten a wrong idea of what ruthlessness meant. You are gentle enough, but she is already frightened, right? Qiao Xian was surprised, but soon she replied with a smile. Yes. She is so timid and dumb. What I said was enough to frighten her. Xiao Yunduan smiled. Then that is good. Lu Yen was just boiling water in the kitchen, when Ms. Niu came to the door. Are you at home, fifth niece-in-law? Lu Yen, who was already so good at boiling water in the kitchen, almost collapsed on her knees hearing the voice. She was really scared. Qiao Xian knew exactly what Ms. Niu was doing here. But Lu Yen already received enough lessons and she was not going to allow Ms. Niu to take her away again. She was her maid, and Ms. Niu had just borrowed her for a couple of days. Ms. Niu was very displeased right now when Xian wanted to take her back, but there was nothing she could do. Most importantly, there was nothing she dared to do. Ms. Fang could drive her away to start with. Ms. Niu made some complaints about how lazy and greedy Lu Yan was whilst working for her, before she left the place with an unconvinced heart. Lu Yan let out a sigh of relief in the kitchen, feeling alive again. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan soon got the agreement ready. Lu Yan shivered badly, but she had to cooperate. Qiao Xian was satisfied when she had the bargaining chip ready in her hand. All right, just stay here and work for me. If you dare betray me, I will bring you down with me. Scared, Lu Yan shook her head and her hands trembled. No, I want. Lu Yan soon became very diligent. She chopped wood, swept the floor and started the fire without even being asked. She wanted to take over all kinds of work. She was suddenly so proactive. Qiao Xian watched the whole thing calmly, but Ms. Fang pursed her lips, not feeling so good towards that maid. This maid was a bitch, who had yielded after being disciplined by Ms. Niu. The following day was Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiani's wedding. At lunchtime, Xiao Xiaoqi came from outside cheerfully, telling everyone that he had set 3 traps in the place a couple of days ago where wild boars might appear. When he went into the mountains and took a look around, he saw a large-sized wild boar in the trap. It was too heavy for him to carry. So he came home to fetch some helpers. Mom, the wild boar is really big. It weighs at least 100 kilograms. There will be one more kind of dish served at the wedding tomorrow. Xiao Xiaoqi was so happy about it. So was the whole family. Xiao Sanlang was so thrilled that he returned an excited greeting. Brother, thank you so much. It is going to be great. You are welcome, third brother. Everyone would like to have a flourishing wedding. Xiao Sanlang had a lot of savings and knew that his mother had some too, but the money was earned without letting their father know, so they could not spend it in front of everyone. Fifth brother had just held his wedding, and the cost was very high. So if they spent too much on another wedding, the situation would look obviously suspicious. That would not be good. They had the savings, and they could use it slowly for their own pleasure, which was beneficial and full of pleasure. But a wild boar was another issue. That wild boar weighed more than 100 kilograms. It should be a big thing. Chapter 204 Good luck. Hence, he fetched some villagers to carry the wild boar home. The second and the third section of the family also went to help. If they refused to offer some assistance, they might not be given any share in the meat later. Xiao Erlang and Xiao Sailang both went to help, as did second uncle and third uncle who wanted to check what was going on. The two families got so jealous. Why was a wild boar caught at this time? They would not be given much meat when the wild boar was caught at this moment. They would have received dozens of kilos at any other time of the year. Ms. Ma pursed her lips. She must have done this on purpose, right? In the afternoon, the wild boar was carried home, and many villagers came to the house to watch it, saying that the first section of the Xiao family was so lucky to have gotten a wild boar on this occasion. It was perfect for the wedding to take place the next day. They became even more cheerful when they thought that they could have a taste of the meat here. With the help from the villagers, the wild boar was quickly disemboweled, chopped and broken down into pieces. It was very cold in the mountains, and the meat was so fresh. Even after one night, the meat would still remain good. Ms. Fang was very generous. She gave 1 kilo of meat to every helper. She gave 1.5 kilograms to the second and the third section of the family, as well as a pig foot for each family. Of course, they wanted to have it all. Ms. Niu even tried to sneak one into her bag, but she was spotted by Xiao Tao Tao, who screamed. What are you doing, second aunt? Xiao Tao Tao's scream drew everyone's attention. Ms. Fang sneered inwardly and asked Ms. Su and Xiao Tao Tao to put away the meat on the board, saying with a smile, Second sister-in-law, thank you for trying to help, but we can put everything away ourselves. Just go home and rest, so you can come and help us with the wedding on the following day. They had to help with the wedding, otherwise they would be blamed. The first section of the family did not care about their help, but she still asked for it. Ms. Niu said timidly, Okay, I know. She sneaked a look at Xiao Tao Tao and turned around. Ms. Niu mumbled inwardly, cursing the girl for being so bold nowadays. She never dared to counter her in the past. She was so angry. It was never easy to deal with the inner organs, which required a lot of seasonings, so the other families were not interested in the task. But Qiao Xian's cooking skills in dealing with inner organs were all approved by the family. Qiao Xian did not disappoint them either. She made a table full of good dishes in the evening. The pork liver was cut into small pieces and marinated with various seasonings. Then the slices were wrapped in net oil into egg-sized pieces and slowly fried in the oil pan. This kind of dish required a lot of effort, but the end result was very tasty. When it was fried, the smell was so good that Qiao Xian asked Xianxia, Xiao Taotao and her niece and nephew to fry and eat at the same time. The dinner was warm and fresh, salty and fragrant. The pork loin was stir-fried with garlic sprouts and green peppers, and the large intestine was still stir-fried with pickles such as sour, spicy and crispy radish and beans. The pig's trotters were stewed first, and then put in the pot to make a sweet and sour dish. Chapter 205 Shameless. This soup was used to cook processed pig heart, pig blood, small intestine, pig stomach, and pig liver. Chopped garlic sprouts, shallots, and ginger pieces were added to cook a large bowl of delicious and rich hodgepodge. Qiao Xian processed every piece very carefully and even washed them with flour. She put in a lot of rice wine, star anises, gingers, pepper so there was no strange smell in the end. The wild boar was so large, and the inner organs could not be finished in just one dinner. So, Qiao Xian asked Ms. Su to cut them into slices, deep-fry them and stew with chili so that a jar of chili sauce could be preserved for 8 or 10 days. There was one big pig head that was roasted over fire and dried in the shadow for future braising. Early the next morning, the first section of the Xiao family got very busy. Ms. Fang had everything arranged neatly, so things went on smoothly. Qiao Xian's job was to help Ms. Fang in receiving relatives and getting to know them, whilst checking and urging those helpers from the second and third section of the family to work harder in case they mess things up. Qiao Xian was pleased with the task and nodded happily. Qiao Xian did not allow Lu Yan to show up on wedding day. She was ordered to stay in the wing room. A lot of helpers were asked to give a helping hand at the wedding, so they had plenty of labor forces. Lu Yan was a ticking bomb that should not show up in public. Lu Yan was very interested in watching the wedding of a village, but Qiao Xian did not allow her to do so, and she did not dare to counter the order. She had already understood what Second Miss could do, so she did not object. Second Miss did not even need to do anything about her personally. All she would do was to throw her to the second section of the family, and she would be engulfed in endless misery. Dressed in a red robe, Xiao Sanlang the groom smiled stupidly. He went to the Yang family to fetch his bride. He was riding on the donkey, surrounded by the reception team. Xiao Dalong, Xiao Yunduan, Xiao Xiaoqi as well as the sons from the second section of the family and young men from the village all tagged along. Xiao Lulang did not show up. According to third uncle, he was working very hard in college and should not be distracted. After all, he had made plenty of progress and did not want to be disturbed. Eldest uncle understood it completely. Being able to read was very important, because it was related to what the future would look like for them. Ms. Fang snorted and rolled her eyes. It was just an excuse. It did not take much effort to attend a wedding. Even the emperor was not as busy as he was. He must feel humiliated to come over. Yunduan was already a cultivated talent, yet he was nothing more than a disciple. He was afraid of being compared. He would have still come over, if Yunduan's wife was not the daughter of the county magistrate. Ms. Fang thought that her husband was so stupid that believed what third uncle said. Yang Xiani's wedding gown was delivered by a messenger from Ms. Fang's side. It was delivered directly to third Grandma Yang's home, so she could help Yang Xiaoni get dressed on the wedding day. When third Grandma Yang, together with some relatives, brought the gown to her home, Ms. Tian's face sank. Ms. Tian knew clearly that she was the one that they were trying to hide from. Yang Xiaoni was finally moving out of home as a bride, with the help of third Grandma Yang and the other relatives. But Ms. Tian kept crying loudly. She kept saying that she and her husband had spent so much effort in raising Yang Xiaoni and helped her get married by finding a good family. Her point was that Yang Xiaoni should come home often enough to visit her brother and sister-in-law. Chapter 206 Not an easy deal. Hearing those words, Yang Liang did feel a bit moved and could not help but rub his eyes. The couple's behavior disgusted the whole audience. Despite the disgusted feelings, the members from the Yang family could not help but tell her to stay assured. However, Xiao Sanlang did not restrain himself and embarrassed Ms. Tian and Yang Liang, seeing that his wife was already in the litter. "Brother, sister-in-law," Xiao Sanlang said with a smile, "I feel so moved that you treat Xiaoni well. Kindly show us the dowry, so we can go to do the ceremony. We can't miss the right hour, can we?" Suddenly silence dominated the whole place. Ms. Tian, who was shedding tears, burst out. "There is no dowry. You told us that we did not have to offer any dowry. You are breaking the promise." Xiao Sanlang rolled his eyes in an exaggerated way and said mockingly, "We did say so, but we thought that you care about Xiaoni so much that you are crying so hard and are willing to push the dowry into her hands." Ha 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 ha. Ah ha ha ha. The villagers who were watching the show could not help but chuckle, so did the reception team, who laughed along. Both Yang Liang and Ms. Tian were thoroughly embarrassed. Ms. Tian glared at Xiao Sanlang and showed no expression of unwillingness to let her sister-in-law go. Xiao Sanlang felt much better seeing her showing the real look. He added, "So, are you giving us the dowry or not? You love Xiaoni, don't you? You can show some sincerity after all." Annoyed, Yang Liang snapped, You. We are too poor to offer you any dowry." Xiao Sanlang laughed. "Well, it depends on whether you have the intention. You can give us the money if you have it. If you are too poor to give us any money, you can offer a wardrobe, a table, a basin or a bucket made from the trees in the mountains. We won't turn any of it down. Seeing how you are dressed, you don't look that poor either." Yang Liang was stuck with words. He glared at Xiao Sanlang, just as Ms. Tian did. Any poor family would at least offer some garments or furniture to the married daughter, if they really loved her. Ms. Tian and Yang Liang were a rarely seen set of family. The Xiao family did not care about the dowry, as they already said that they did not need any. But it was annoying when the family offered nothing whilst pretending to play the drama that they loved the bride. It was disgusting. How could they get away with a cheap deal of wanting to keep both reputation and stuff as well? Xiao Sanlang was a down-to-earth person, but he could not stand being disgusted to this level. Seeing that the purpose was almost achieved, Xiao Yunduan said, "Third brother, let's leave, we should not miss the right hour." Xiao Sanlang chuckled. "Okay, let's go." Without even looking at Yang Liang and Ms. Tian, the team took off. The villagers from the Yang family exchanged a look between themselves and also left. The couple was thoroughly humiliated. But it served them right, since they were the ones who tried to take advantage of others first. Chapter 207. Grudge. Yang Liang and his wife became so annoyed that they slapped the door shut. "I am so annoyed, so annoyed. The Xiao family are behaving over the top. I am definitely going to take revenge." Ms. Tian was so irritated that she kept crying loudly. Some nosy villagers understood that Ms. Tian would hold a grudge over the matter. So they leaned against the door of Yang Liang's home and listened. Ms. Tian, who was irritated beyond measure, kept cursing. After a while, the listeners rolled their eyes, snapped disdainfully and shared the gossip with the fellow villagers. It was a bustling scene at the first section of the Xiao family at this moment. They were not affected by the Yang family at all. Ms. Fang was a very cautious, economic person. She added some money so that the wedding looked really good. The melon seeds, peanuts and tea were constantly served. The dried fruits were a little expensive, but Ms. Fang did not want the dried fruits to stand out, so she refilled the box every third hour. 4 kinds of dried fruits were bought, namely preserved apricots, candied dates, hawthorn cake, green and red fruit slices. All of them were so popular that they were eaten up the moment they were served. Qiao Xian followed Ms. Fang to greet relatives and friends. Everyone knew about her identity, and many had attended her wedding. But she was a prestigious presence in front of the villagers, who could not help but glance at her again and again. She was very friendly, and no one could find a fault in her. Instead, they found her different from many ladies in the village. They whispered to each other, saying that she was polite, friendly and behaved well, and also that she looked so pretty and had a special air around her. In the end, they could not help but conclude that the daughter of Officer Qiao was indeed outstanding. There was even a sense of faint jealousy. The first section of the Xiao family was really lucky and was definitely going to get richer. Xiao Yunduan was already the cultivated talent. Moreover, he was the son-in-law of Officer Qiao, so his future was definitely going to be promising with such a father-in-law behind his back. The guests who heard those words felt sour and emotional. They were all friends and relatives and kept giving compliments to the Xiao family on this happy day. Only Ms. Ma felt aggrieved inside her heart. Xiao Yunduan was just lucky, that was all. Soon her son was going to be more skilled and knowledgeable than Xiao Yunduan. It was just that he got sick during the examination so that Xiao Yunduan took his place. But for Xiao Yunduan's success of becoming cultivated talent and saving Officer Qiao's daughter, he would not have gotten a wife like this. If her own son became the cultivated talent, then Xiao Yunduan would be nothing. So even if Xiao Yunduan saved Qiao Xian, Officer Qiao would not have married his daughter to him. She even imagined the scene of accepting her, for the sake of Officer Qiao, and she would have taught her to behave well. If only such a thing had happened. If they could get related to the Qiao family, her son would definitely get promoted and she would be in full charge of Qiao Xian's generous dowry. Moreover, she would even be invited as a guest at the county magistrate's home during all kinds of festivals, and maybe, would have shared a meal with her daughter-in-law's family. She would have gotten to know many noble families, who would always come handy as useful connections for them in the future. Chapter 208. Out of dream. In this way, her own family would have flourished as well. Ms. Ma found her dream getting more and more realistic. The more realistic it seemed, the more annoyed she felt about the truth she had to face, when she realized where she was at the moment. Seeing that Ms. Fang was not within sight, Ms. Ma suddenly thought of an idea. Ms. Ma went to those relatives and friends who did not seem to get on well with Ms. Fang, and started to reveal some secrets about Ms. Fang. She did not dare to say anything about Qiao Xian, since she was in a high position. No one from the village had any idea of how Qiao Xian was actually treated at home. But she dared to say something about Ms. Fang. She just favors this daughter-in-law of hers. Look at Ms. Su, who has to work so hard from early morning. She has to do laundry, sweeping the floor, chopping, carrying water, starting a fire, and cooking. After she makes breakfast, she has to go into the fields for heavy labor. She is so busy every single day. But look at Ms. Qiao, she needs to do nothing. It is only because Ms. Qiao has money. She is definitely going to take hold of the dowry of Ms. Qiao. This Ms. Qiao is so stupid as to still defend her and respect her as if she were her own mother. You know how much they offered to Sanlang for him to get the wife? 20 liang. Since when did they get so generous? They have just hosted Wang's wedding and now they are able to give 20 liang to the Yang family. Everyone knows where the money is coming from. But they don't want to loan any money to us, even though they are living a luxurious life. They are so hard-hearted. Just wait and see. When Sanlang's wife moves in, the new daughter-in-law will definitely be very unhappy about her mother-in-law's blatant preference towards Ms. Qiao. Dalong is very honest, and doesn't dare to utter a word when his wife is bullied, but Sanlang is different. Those aunts' biggest pastime was to gossip about the family relationships of different families. They were most fascinated by how those family disputes were conducted. Since they felt a bit jealous about the first section of the Xiao family, and did not like Ms. Fang much, they were all excited to hear what Ms. Ma told them. So the whole group got together and gossiped vigorously, with their eyes sparkling. But Qiao Xian caught every word spoken even though she was standing far away. Disgusted, Qiao Xian told herself inwardly that this third aunt-in-law of hers had again lost her control of her tongue, despite being disciplined by her mother-in-law just a while ago. Did she think that her words would separate her and her mother-in-law, or that her elder brother and her elder sister-in-law would be dissatisfied with her? Did she think that she could break down her family? Well, she was dreaming. Elder brother was an obedient and honest person, and she could easily buy elder sister-in-law. Third brother was a broad-minded person and she had met his wife, Yang Xiaoni, who seemed to be generous as well. Her family would get increasingly better, and she did not think that anything bad would happen. Third aunt-in-law. Qiao Xian smiled and stepped forward. What are you talking about? I am interested in listening to it too. What are you doing here? Ms. Ma got startled seeing Qiao Xian coming over all of a sudden. People who gossiped behind people's backs always felt guilty. Qiao Xian blinked and smiled. I seem to hear that you are talking about me and Mom. So, I also want to hear your story in detail. Chapter 209. One meal or two. Mom also likes listening to your talks. Third aunt-in-law. What about getting her here to listen to your story too? Ms. Ma had no idea how much Qiao Xian had heard, and her face changed. But she did not admit that she had talked badly about them, so she forced a smile. Your mom is busy today. There is no need to fetch her here. It is fine. Xianxia smiled. Mom can arrange everything well, neatly and properly. My elder sister-in-law is capable too, and she helps our mother relieve a lot of burden. Mom is not at all busy. The relatives were very afraid of Ms. Fang, but they did not seem to be scared about the young Xianxia. Someone said half-jokingly, "It seems that your elder sister-in-law is very tired with a lot of work. Why not help her? Wouldn't she protest against you for not being able to help her?" Everyone laughed. True, wouldn't she feel annoyed? Xianxia smiled. Elder sister-in-law is very capable. Of course she won't say any such thing. I have just bought dozens of mu of land, and planted many things. But I don't have any knowledge about how to plant those things, so I hired elder brother, elder sister-in-law, and third brother to help me, paying them 30 yen a day. We will be planting some more mushrooms soon, and they will have to help me again. What? 30 yen? That is too much. The relatives' eyes widened. They suddenly realized why Ms. Su had no opinion against Xiaoxian's behavior. The couple could earn 60 yen a day, which even though did not come every single day. But Xiaoxian's land needed to be taken care of on a regular basis, and every time she required help, she paid them. Moreover, they were not living separately yet, so what she harvested from the land would also be shared. Oh man, she was so rich. With so much money coming to them, they would definitely ignore small things like dishwashing or floor sweeping. All the relatives became so jealous and motivated that they started to treat Xiaoxian nicely. Xiaoxian smiled as she talked about how excellent Ms. Fang and Ms. Su were. Ms. Ma's face turned pale while she stood next to them. Xiaoxian sneered inwardly. But for third brother's wedding that took place today, she was definitely going to pass on this message to her mother-in-law, who would again teach Ms. Ma a lesson. She needed to be disciplined many times until she finally understood what she ought to do and what not. She would eventually understand, after she was taught the lesson enough times. Soon the reception team arrived, and the atmosphere became lively. They cheered, laughed and played around. It was a cheerful scene. The couple went through the process and the kitchen got busy again. The scent that came from the dishes caused people to drool. Everyone got very excited and looked forward to the wild boar meat at the banquet. There were 8 dishes being served at the wedding banquet. Normally, only 2 meat dishes were served due to the poverty. But today, the dishes were more than good. The dishes included roasted chicken with mushrooms, stewed meat with dried beans, fried wild boar with green pepper and garlic sprouts, roasted tofu, yam fungus, fried bean and eggplant with minced meat, tofu and cabbage soup, which was boiled with wild boar bones and trotters for a long time, so a large pot of broth was produced. There was a bowl of 8 treasure rice too. Xiaoxian had thought about serving a dish of braised fish, but Ms. Fang did not think that the chief cook would be able to do the dish. Moreover, the dish required too much oil and a bone might get stuck in some child's throat, making it troublesome. Therefore they gave up the idea. Chapter published at 4th of April 2023 6:28 and 34 seconds AM. Chapter 210. 210 Greedy Xiao Yunduan. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. 210 Greedy Xiao Yunduan. Xiaoxian complimented Ms. Fang for being considerate and dropped the idea of making the dish. When the banquet was served, everyone gobbled down the dishes and emptied everything. Xiaoxian realized that Ms. Fang had been totally right. The villagers barely had a chance to eat meat, and those with some money would at most eat meat once or twice a month, never over 3 times. So when the banquet was served in the village, they never stopped themselves from eating as much as they could. When the meat dishes were served, the guests went up and kept putting the dishes into their bowls, and started to relish them slowly. Some did not even want to finish them totally, but took some home. The wedding was held really successfully. The 3 bowls of meat dishes contained plenty of meat and only a small amount of side vegetable dishes. Meat was seen in other dishes too, apart from tofu and yam dishes. The guests were really satisfied by the food and the bowls were all emptied, leaving nothing behind, not even the soup. When the last batch of guests was seen off, the things borrowed for the wedding were returned. The whole family ate along with the helpers, who left after dinner. The day did not come to an end until they tidied up everything. It was already quite late. Xiaoxian did not do much labor work, but she felt quite tired, let alone Ms. Fang and Ms. Qiao. After she washed herself up, she felt relaxed and started to yawn. She felt so sleepy. I am so sleepy. I need to go to bed now. She yawned widely. With her eyes half opened, she greeted Xiao Yunduan and pulled a blanket over her, before falling asleep immediately. Standing by the bedside, Xiao Yunduan looked at her face and felt a bit dizzy in his head. It was like a dream. It had been just 2 months since his own wedding was held, and at that time, he was not feeling so relaxed, nor was she. Moreover, he remembered how the suicide took place on their wedding night. But he had not expected that he and she lived such a good life since that point. He had also not expected that her arrival brought tremendous changes to the family. It was just 2 months, but for him, it seemed like a lifetime. It felt that he was used to having her at home and in his room, next to him when he laid down. Xiao Yunduan suddenly felt a bit greedy, as the emotions hit him hard. He believed that if they could live on like this, life would not be that bad either. Early the next morning, Xianxia served the tea to the family and addressed each member of the family with a new title. From that moment on, the whole family accepted her formally. Xianxia was very diligent and did not need to be told to do the work properly. Ms. Fang smiled brightly. She would have definitely thrown a fit, if she paid so much and was still humiliated by a daughter-in-law who was lazy and greedy. She was the mother-in-law and she could discipline any daughter-in-law who annoyed her. At this time, the taro, corn, soybeans, peanuts in the fields needed to be weeded, and the bamboo forests needed to be taken care of a little, so Xiao Dalong and Ms. Su went into the field for work. Xianxia was used to doing labor work, so even if she had just gotten married, she was not used to idling around at home. She fetched Xiao Sanlang and took him to the field for work as well. Chapter 211. Two dumb people. Ms. Fang said, "It is fine, take a break at home for now and start work in a couple of days." She was not a strict mother-in-law who kept tormenting her daughter-in-law. She had just gotten married and Ms. Fang did not need her at the moment. Ms. Su feared that with Xianxia being at home, Qiao would not ask her to join them for work. So she said with a smile, "Mom, what about asking third brother and third sister-in-law to do work in the field along with us, so we can finish our work soon enough to go work for fifth sister-in-law? She has a lot for us to deal with." Ms. Fang was startled. Oh well. Qiao did have a lot of work which needed to be done. She had told Ms. Fang everything, but not everyone present was aware about it. Qiao did not want other villagers to know about this money-earning thing, so she always hired her own family members to do the work, which Ms. Fang approved of. Qiao did not expect that Ms. Su would say something like this. She smiled. "Mom, elder sister-in-law, I am fine. We don't have to hurry up." She was not in a frenzy because the business with lipsticks was a long-term thing, and she had just made the amount that was needed. Mushroom planting could also wait for now because she needed to find some more kinds of mushrooms in the mountains. Mushrooms and wooden ears were easy to find because she had the superpower, which could help her see every tiny thing in that broad, wide place. But snow fungus was rarely seen and needed to be searched with some effort. Moreover, sometimes luck was required as well. As long as she found the seed, she could simply urge them to grow by the virtue of her superpower. Xiao Sanlang's eyes sparkled, and he smiled. "Mom, elder sister-in-law is right. Let's get our work done as soon as possible. Xiaomi is not that weak." Then he turned to Xiaomi and whispered, "Fifth sister-in-law is very generous. She pays each worker 30 a day. We can save money to buy something good in the town." Xiaomi's eyes sparkled too. "Really? That's great." These two dumb people thought that they were whispering, but Ms. Qiao and Ms. Fang caught their conversation clearly. Qiao laughed but pretended not to have heard anything. Ms. Fang ignored them furiously and glared at Xiao Sanlang. "Okay, just do whatever you want." She was not going to force her daughter-in-law to take a break and not to work. Xiao Sanlang nodded and he left for work with his wife cheerfully. Qiao smiled. "Mom, just let Lu Yan do the work. You should take a break too. You have worked too hard these days." Ms. Fang stopped being annoyed and smiled. Okay, you are so considerate. Just go and take the break. I owe you big for your third brother's wedding." Qiao felt warm in heart and smiled. "Mom, we are a family. Don't mention it. Let me make lunch and dinner. I will create something delicious." Ms. Fang sneered. "No need. You can make it tomorrow. Just let Ms. Su and Ms. Yang cook tonight. Your second uncle and third uncle's families will be here for dinner, and they don't deserve to eat your food." She did not want them to start visiting them often for dinner, after they tasted her dishes. Ms. Fang had already planned what dishes to serve tonight. Xiao nodded in understanding. True, as long as the two families were far away from them. Chapter 212 Rest hence, she could skip making food tonight with ease. Feeling tired, Xiao returned to her own room. Xiao Yunduan was writing articles, which were going to be presented to the teachers at the school and fellow classmates for communication. Xiao did not hurry onto the bed when she walked in. Instead, she came to his side and helped him grind the ink. She was just thinking how she could tell him that she needed to take a break, when Xiao Yunduan looked up at her and said, "You worked so hard yesterday, you must be feeling very tired, go and take a break." Xiao had not expected this sentence to come so easily, so she felt very happy. But she replied in a friendly way. "That is not good." Xiao Yunduan thought that she was worried about being scolded by the family, so he said, "Don't worry, I will not tell Mom about this, just go and sleep." Xiao. What straightforward words. Well, it made people feel assured. Xiao laughed and accepted the offer. "Ah yes, I am feeling very tired. Let me take a break. You can inform me when you step out." Xiao Yunduan nodded. "I will tell you when it is time for lunch." Feeling assured, Xiao thanked her husband and threw herself onto bed. She rolled over in the blanket, relaxed with 4 limbs open, and soon fell asleep. Her breath was steady and she had fallen into deep sleep. Xiao Yunduan turned around subconsciously and saw the long, smooth raven hair on the pillow. He could not help but feel his heart soften. He showed a gentle look. He felt comfortable and happy, especially when they spent the time together in the room, even while doing nothing. Ms. Fang hid the leftovers from the banquet before someone could steal it. 1 bowl of chicken, 1 bowl of tofu and 1 slice of meat were enough for dinner tonight. They had made steamed buns for lunch. The steamed buns were simple but very tasty, and when eaten with the chili sauce made by Qiao with pig liver, heart and belly, it would be delicious when eaten with porridge. When Ms. Su returned at lunchtime, they started to eat and Xianxia felt moved to be able to eat so much food. Xianxia was bowled over by what Qiao had made. She said that she could do any kind of work as long as she could eat the chili sauce made by the 5th sister-in-law. The whole family laughed. Xiao Taotao smiled proudly. 3rd sister-in-law, 5th sister-in-law makes great food. You wait and see the dishes she makes. Qiao smiled. I will take a break tonight but will make some more tomorrow. Xiao Sanlang, Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao cheered her on. Eldest uncle could not help but look up. We are hosting a family dinner tonight. Ms. Qiao. You can make some dishes then. Eldest uncle had to admit that Qiao cooked great food though he was not very satisfied with her. She could make some good dishes for the family dinner to bring up the reputation. In this way, the 2nd section of the family and 3rd section of the family could have a taste of what she was capable of. Ms. Fang rolled her eyes and said coldly, Ms. Qiao has been working very hard these days and she is too tired to do any more work. She is taking a break tonight. Chapter 213 Good Xiao Yunduan added immediately. True. Dad, she can make food in the future. I am sure that 2nd aunt as well as 3rd aunt would very much like to taste food made by the 3rd sister-in-law. It was a custom that new brides made a table of dishes for the seniors in the family. Xianxia got nervous suddenly. Dad, Mom, I will definitely try my best. She was not very good at cooking, but she could make palatable food. Ms. Fang smiled. Don't worry, just do as you did back home. Eldest uncle was stuck in words too. It was true that his new daughter-in-law should make food for tonight, and he had nothing against that. Ms. Su and Xianxia returned home from the field very early because they had to prepare for dinner. Ms. Fang told Xianxia and Ms. Su what they should do, so they followed the instructions. Xianxia was used to bitter days, so when she saw how Ms. Su filtered the rice, she felt very satisfied seeing a pot full of rice. She asked her voluntarily, Do we make rice in this way? Don't we add any kidney beans or mung beans? Xianxia drooled, seeing pure rice in the pot. Back at home, she barely got to eat any rice. Either she ate porridge or rice with beans. Ms. Su sounded proud as she grinned. No need, we don't lack rice or flour, and we eat such rice every single day. Soon you will know why. Really? Xianxia's eyes widened. She could not believe what she had heard. Miss Su laughed. Of course. Fifth sister-in-law knows how to make money, and she will help us make a lot of money too. Soon you will know. The fifth sister-in-law was not very good at doing heavy labor, and when their fifth brother became an officer in the future, she would never go down into the field again. She had dozens of fields for lipsticks, herbs and mushrooms, and she would need laborers. So Miss Su was well aware that they would have a lot of money to earn soon. Every time fifth sister-in-law made money, she gave some for the shared savings as well. So they did not lack money at home. They had plenty of rice, flour and meat which they ate often. It seemed that they had taken advantage of fifth sister-in-law and the shared savings. Miss Su did not want to share too many details with young Xiaoni yet. She had her own ideas and was not as easygoing as Tao Tao. As of now, she definitely trusted the fifth sister-in-law more than young Xiaoni. If she told young Xiaoni everything, she would have no advantage at all. As far as she could tell, young Xiaoni is an honest person, who was easily satisfied by food, just like their third brother. That was wonderful. The meat dishes for dinner included a bowl of chicken, pork tofu and one slice of wild boar. Some mushrooms, bamboos, pickles, eggplants and green peppers were added as the vegetable dishes. That would be enough. Ms. Fang did not kill any chicken. She just added one dish of scallions with fried egg, and a bowl of wolfberry sprout soup with eggs. When young Xiaoni and Ms. Su were busy cooking in the kitchen, the second and third section of the family arrived. Young Xiaoni's family were horrible, and the second and third sections of the family were laughing at Ms. Fang behind her back, thinking that she had indulged Xiao Sanlang too much, because of which such a horrible marriage had been established. Young Xiaoni had seduced Xiao Sanlang because she thought she was pretty. For her, marrying Xiao Sanlang was a fortunate thing. But Ms. Fang approved of the marriage despite her family background. Chapter 214 Message. They were waiting to see what life was going to be like for the first section of the family henceforth. Therefore, both sections of the family seemed to be in a good mood. They were waiting to see a ridiculous show, rather than feel jealous and annoyed. Ever since Ms. Ma was caught red-handed by Qiao Xian when she bad-mouthed them at the wedding, she was very worried that Qiao Xian would point this out to her in front of Ms. Fang, and be disciplined by her. Therefore, Ms. Ma did not dare to say anything. Since Ms. Niu was alone, she could not hold a conversation on her own. So the dinner went on peacefully, and no big fuss was made. The following day, Ms. Su and young Xiaoni went into the field for work. After breakfast, Qiao Xian took a walk in the yard and checked out the melons, fruits and herbs which she had planted. The seeds of tomatoes could be put down too. She softened the earth and spread down the seeds, poured some superpower of hers into the field, so that the sprout could start to grow on the empty broad land. The seeds were ripe, and they should grow well. Qiao Xian let out a sigh of relief and cheered inwardly. She did not dare to make them grow too fast, so she stopped her superpower as the sprout reached a height of a finger. The door of the yard was often locked, and that was why she dared to use her superpower at this time. When she walked out of the yard, it was time to make lunch. Qiao Xian and Xiao Tao Tao helped Ms. Fang in making porridge, steamed rolls. They were going to eat them with the chili sauce. Xiao Tao Tao also put some mushrooms into water, washed some garlic sprouts and beans, so that Ms. Su and the others could fry them when they returned home if they felt like having another. Qiao Xian, Xiao Tao Tao and Xiao Xiaoqi finished the food first before going into the floral field to continue with lipstick making. They needed to take advantage of the blooming fresh flowers, otherwise it would be a total waste. This was all money. May had just passed, and the ordinary roses could grow for no longer than 10 more days. Qiao Xian could extend the lifespan, but that was too risky for her. Her actions might cause suspicion. Fortunately, the pomegranate flowers were preparing to bloom soon, and there were several colors of roses that bloomed all year round, so there was no need to worry about raw materials. In the afternoon, Qiao Xian let Xiao Tao Tao make the lipstick right from the beginning to the end, hoping that she could make a complete lipstick alone. Nervous and excited, Xiao Tao Tao was shivering throughout the whole process. Fifth sister-in-law had passed on her special skill to her, and she was very excited by that. It was a skill that could guarantee her survival for a lifetime. Fifth sister-in-law must know that when she was able to master the skill, she could earn money on her own, but she still did not keep the skill as a secret. After 3 attempts, and under Qiao Xian's instructions, Xiao Tao Tao finally managed to make one lipstick. The girl was so happy that she blushed, expressing her gratitude to Qiao Xian. Fifth sister-in-law, don't worry. I promise never to make money with this separately. Also, I will never pass this secret on to anyone else. Qiao Xian grinned. You can work as my assistant today, but we will see what happens in the future. It is a large business and you can be part of it. Xiao Taotao smiled and made up her mind. Chapter 215. Displeased Xiao Taotao had just learned the skill and felt very motivated, so Qiao Xian entrusted the work to her whilst she idled around in the floral field. The roses were blooming in such a flourishing way that the petals looked radiant. Due to the help of her superpower, the flowers looked rather beautiful. The pink and rose-colored flowers were pure-looking and together, it seemed as if a waterfall of flowers was created. It was a much larger amount compared to the other kind of roses, because when the blooming period passed, the amount would be reduced drastically. Motivated, Qiao Xian tried to move the flowers into her space. If her space could preserve them, then everything would become so much easier. She could find some time when no one was around so as to urge them to bloom with her superpower, and all those flowers could remain stored in space. But the arrogant space gave no response. It did not accept the flowers. Qiao Xian found it such a pity. When her mind and space were related, she could more or less sense several issues related to space, not necessarily in a specific way but always in the right direction. The space did have the function of saving objects, except that the function had not yet been activated. She could sense that the function must be related to the cabin that emerged every now and then in the mist. Maybe by the time she caught a clear sight of the cabin, she would reach a high degree of magic and initiate the function of storage. It seemed that everything including upgradation was related to the precious plants inside the space. She still needed to find some more. But she was running out of a solution. She needed to find precious goods which the critical space could accept. Qiao Xian had to give up the idea of storing roses and instead focused on making some more lipsticks when the flowers were still blooming. Qiao Xian was going to make a big dinner in the evening, so she returned home earlier than usual. She was going to make a dish of pig head, which would take time. The pig meat was enough for many dishes. Qiao Xian decided to divide it into different parts. She stewed some in the pot, whilst the ears and some small parts could be served as cold dishes or fried with chilies and braised. From the large water tank, she took out a few 3-finger-wide yellow, small crucian carp, and 2 yellow eels. She stewed a pot of pickled cabbage with a small amount of sauerkraut and dried peppers. This was what dinner was going to include. Ms. Su and the others returned home late, and the moment they arrived, they washed their hands and got ready for dinner. Xiao Taotao and Lu Yan were helping out at home, and the dinner was ready. When Ms. Su heard during lunchtime that Qiao Xian had asked Xiao Taotao to work in the floral field, she hoped to finish her own field work as soon as possible, so that she could start to make money from Qiao Xian. The Xiao family were used to Qiao Xian's food and were glad to see the table full of dishes. Is that pig head? It smells so nice. We have fish with pickles again. It was the first time for young Xiaoni to have a taste of dishes made by Qiao Xian, so after dinner, her eyes were sparkling as she looked at Qiao Xian. Her fifth sister-in-law was so good at cooking, and the pig meat dish as well as the fish were so tasty that she almost lost her tongue while eating. Fish could be so delicious that it was beyond her knowledge. They all had a good time eating, and kept speaking highly of Qiao Xian's cooking skills. They all thought that the banquet served at the wedding was not as delicious. Only the eldest uncle felt a bit annoyed. He realized that Qiao Xian refused to cook the previous day only because she did not want to, not because she was too tired to do so. Chapter 216 Ideas. However, if Qiao Xian had been the only person who got this idea, he would have definitely disciplined her. He would have told her that she should not have such thoughts when the whole family was together. However, his wife and sons were all helping her out and he was totally left alone, so there was no chance for him to say anything, nor was there any use in saying anything. Eldest uncle felt really heavy-hearted. He felt that the family was slowly scattering. Miss Fang knew exactly what he was thinking when he was silent. She sneered inwardly and pretended as if she had seen nothing. She had thought that her husband would change himself, but it seemed that moving his heart might not be so easy. He believed firmly that the whole family should be together, and that his 2 brothers needed to be taken good care of. Hence, she decided not to say anything more. Her words would not be as important as those said by his own brothers. So, she was going to wait to see what his brothers would do to him. Let him also realize what they were really like. Just look at what they had done to him when he helped them with seedlings. He only got to eat one dinner at the third section of the family on his first day, and then he came home for 3 meals in the following days. His brothers never let him stay for meals. What was the need to help them? But it was good that the 2 sections of the family did such a thing. Even an honest man like Dalong wasn't so happy about how they behaved. Otherwise Dalong might have offered help to his father, since he was a very soft-hearted person. Soon it was time for Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni to visit her natal family after the wedding. Although they disliked Yang Liang and Ms. Tian, and refused to hang out with the couple, yet Ms. Fang would not cut down the return day gifts and ceremony. Ms. Fang, according to the rules, prepared the return gifts, which included 2 chickens, 2 jars of wine, 1 kg of honey and 2 mid-sized pieces of meat. All this put together was above the intermediate level of gifting. But as Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang left the village, she pursed her lips. I don't want to return to my home. Those are such precious gifts and I don't want to give them to my brother and his wife. Xiao Sanlang patted his legs and laughed. We have the same idea. I would rather feed the food to the dog. His wife had not had a comfortable life before she married him. She was never fed well and was always beaten and punished. She was forced to do a lot of work. He really did not want to give the couple any presents. Yang Xiaoni thought for a while and grinned. I think we can keep the honey, which must taste very sweet. It can stay for a long time. Good idea. Xiao Sanlang laughed and added in agreement. This rice wine seems nice too. What about keeping it as well? We can taste it every now and then. It won't go bad for quite some time. Good. Yang Xiaoni nodded. And we can kill 1 chicken and roast it. It will taste great. Speaking of roasting food, Yang Xiaoni often stole some taro, corn and beans from home to roast them in the field. Sometimes she would dig some yams and roast them to feed herself in the wild field. She had even roasted fish, but she could not process it well enough, so she gave up after 1 attempt. That was how she and Xiao Sanlang met in the first place. Chapter 217. Not her home. There was one time when she was roasting yams in the wild field when Xiao Sanlang followed the scent. After a few exchanges, the 2 of them got to know each other and developed feelings. Xiao Sanlang could not help but feel motivated after hearing Yang Xiaoni's opinions. He knew pretty well that roasted chicken could be tasty. That is good, but we don't have any salt with us. The taste would be hampered greatly without seasoning. Yang Xiaoni agreed. Moreover, it was never easy to deal with a chicken which was alive. They could hide meat, but living chickens could not be hidden anyway. They would make noise. What if they were heard and stolen away? But Yang Xiaoni felt really unhappy at the thought that she had to give the meat to Yang Liang and Ms. Tian. She moved out of the Yang family without getting anything, and even cut off her relationship with her brother and his wife. She never owed them anything. In fact, she got nothing after working for them for so many years. Rather, they got 20 liang as wedding gifts since she got married. That was already a big bonus for them. She really did not want to get involved with them anymore. Oh yes! Yang Xiaoni cried, as she said to Xiao Sanlang. Let's go into the mountains and visit my parents. Her parents were already deceased, and were buried in the Yang family's graveyard. When her parents were alive, they loved her and gave her a lot of food and clothes in winter. When she was sick, her mother took care of her and made her steamed eggs. But everything ceased to exist after her parents passed away. Her brother and sister-in-law were not her family. She did not want to return there. It would be great if they could visit her parents. She would kowtow to them and tell them that she had married into a very nice family, so they could be assured. Xiao Sanlang, who did not like Yang Liang and his wife, agreed heartily with what Yang Xiaoni said. This is a good idea. I will kowtow to my in-laws and it is like a return day too. Yes. Yang Xiaoni nodded with force. So the easygoing couple forgot about Yang Liang and Ms. Tian and headed towards the Yang family's graveyard. The couple kowtowed in front of Yang Xiaoni's parents' graves, removed the weed and cleaned a little bit of the surroundings. Then they put the chicken and meat in front of the graves, poured wine 3 times, and talked a little before leaving together. They did not avoid running into people, so they were seen by passers-by. They even explained why they were here. People were dumbfounded when they heard that. They could not help but gossip about it, and soon some nosy ones narrated the whole thing at Yang Liang's home. They just loved gossip. Yang Liang and Ms. Tian were shocked. Then they got really furious. What are they thinking? What do they mean? That is how the Xiao family teaches their son? Yang Xiaoni learnt nothing from them. What are they trying to do? Honestly, the couple had been waiting for Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni to visit them since morning. They expected the couple to bring some gifts. Ms. Tian had even prepared a speech to threaten Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni, so that she could control them in the future. Chapter 218. Embarrassed, she had intended to warn Yang Xiaoni, telling her that even if she was married, she should never forget about her own family. She was going to remind her that a girl without her own home support would be bullied by her mother-in-law's family until she passed away. However, she made the full plan and believed that she would be able to take control of Yang Xiaoni. But Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang did not even show up. What kind of family are they, when they do not even know that they should have presents prepared on the return day? Shame on them! Ms. Tian was so annoyed. Yet the villagers were all laughing at her. Some people even mocked her. Well, your words are not entirely true. They went to their parents' graves to pay tribute. That can be counted as a return day ceremony too, right? Yeah, when Xiaoni's parents were alive, they loved her deeply, and Xiaoni is a good-hearted girl who knows that she should take her husband to visit them. It should be counted as a return day, right? Xiaoni does have some unique ideas, ha ha ha. Hearing those words, Ms. Tian got angry beyond words. She rushed back to the house and slammed the door shut. Did you hear that? Ms. Tian sneered at Yang Liang. That damned girl refuses to be under us, and you were dreaming about continuing to be her brother. Yang Liang felt very embarrassed too. Any married girl should come back to their home on return day, otherwise her natal family would be so embarrassed. Then what should we do? Ms. Tian sneered. Of course we should go to the door to demand an explanation. They are bullying us. We should teach them a lesson. Ms. Tian was going to cause such a fuss that the damned girl would never have an easy time at her mother-in-law's family. Thinking of how Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang went to her deceased in-laws' graves with chicken, meat and wine instead of bringing those things home, Ms. Tian felt even more irritated. This goddamned girl looked honest on the surface, but she knew that Yang Xiaoni hated her deeply inside her heart. But she had not expected that the girl would have done something like this. In this way, she should not be blamed for taking the revenge. Yang Liang hesitated. Is this a good idea? He was a coward, and wanted to have a good reputation. He could lecture Yang Xiaoni when they were at home, but he could not demean himself by making a fuss at someone else's door. Ms. Tian pointed at his forehead and said, "You coward! They have bullied you to your bones, and you don't even dare to stand up for yourself. Are you a man or not?" Lectured by Ms. Tian and thinking of what Yang Xiaoni did, causing him to become a joke, Yang Liang suddenly felt really furious. He said through clenched teeth, Okay. I will make sure she suffers." Now you said it right. Ms. Tian sneered. Along with her two sons, she and Yang Liang headed to Shaoding village in anger. Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni had already returned by lunchtime. They hid the 2 living chickens in their own room and put the 2 pieces of meat in the kitchen, saying that those were the presents from home. Ms. Fang did not think that it was possible, but seeing that the couple did not even stay for lunch, Ms. Fang found that it might have happened. The couple might have tried to steal meat from Yang Liang and his wife's hands, so maybe the couple got annoyed and drove them out before serving them lunch. But it was okay, they could have better food at home. It seemed that it was right for them to have brought back the meat. The couple was so unkind and she would support whatever her son wanted to do. Chapter 219. Not Ms. Fang. After lunchtime, Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang headed into the field to work with Xiao Dalong and Ms. Su. They wanted to finish their own labor work during the afternoon, so that they could start to earn money the following day. Naturally, all of them were highly motivated. However, Ms. Tian, together with her 2 sons and Yang Liang, rushed in at the moment. Ms. Tian had the intention of causing a big fuss, so the moment she walked into the village, she started to shout loudly and attracted numerous villagers' attention. There was not much entertainment in the village, so when such a show was on, everyone quickly gathered around. The fight between 2 women would be a juicy piece of gossip that could last for 2 months at least. Seeing many villagers attracted by her, Ms. Tian became increasingly confident and she started to shout loudly. "You don't even do the return day? That behavior is way over the top. Yes, it sounds unreasonable. Is it true? I don't think the Xiao family would do something like this. Well, Ms. Fang has a bad personality and she definitely takes revenge, yet she always sticks to the rules. Moreover, she treats Ms. Su and Ms. Qiao equally. But I don't think that Yang Liang and Ms. Tian are lying. They can't be lying because something like this cannot be kept as a secret. Well, let's watch and see what happens. Yes, let's see. So the whole gang rushed to the Xiao family's home with Yang Liang and Ms. Tian. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma were also among the crowd. They were laughing with their eyes sparkling. The two of them were not saying anything, fearing that their words would again reach Ms. Fang's ears, which would not be a good thing for them. Ms. Fang was not in a good mood these days. She even hit people. Ms. Fang was so shocked when Ms. Tian came to the door. What do you mean? Not allowing them to return home? Ms. Tian, do you think that I am so easily bullied? I prepared chicken, meat, and wine for Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang so that they can go to your home for the ceremony. How dare you accuse me? The villagers nodded in agreement. That was true. Ms. Fang would never have allowed such a thing to happen. Ms. Tian sneered. How dare you claim this? Xiaoni never came to my home. Someone must have told her not to. Instead, they went to my in-laws' graves and left straight from there. This behavior is so unreasonable. What? What did she say? Everyone was startled. People had heard about Ms. Tian's complaint, but when the matter was explained like this, they were all shocked. It was indeed a special move which they had never seen before. Shocked, Ms. Fang shouted furiously into the room and said, "Why are you hiding? Get out here and explain." Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang were both shocked. They had never expected that Yang Liang and Ms. Tian would come to the door because of this. Anxious, they subconsciously hid into the room. But the couple had no choice and came out after Ms. Fang shouted at them. Seeing Yang Xiaoni, Ms. Tian got so furious that she stepped forward to slap her face. "You bitch, how dare you ah!" Xiao Sanlang defended Yang Xiaoni and pushed Ms. Tian away, glaring at her. "What are you doing? You better not touch my wife." Chapter 220 Weirdos. You! Standing there furiously, Ms. Tian just could not vent her anger and was frustrated. For one moment, she almost felt dizzy. She could not touch this damned girl anymore. That was such a loss she felt that she got even more furious. She regretted badly to have approved of this marriage. She should have cut it off at the beginning. Moved, Yang Xiaoni started to sob and looked at Xiao Sanlang passionately. "Third brother, you treat me so nicely. No one treated me so well like you do after my parents passed away. I will definitely treat your parents well too." The villagers found it both funny and pitiful. Standing next to Ms. Fang, Qiao Xian tried to hold her laughter. Her third sister-in-law was such a funny person. The Yang village and the Xiaoding village were not very far apart, and the famous families were famous across the villages. For example, weird couples like Yang Liang and his wife who treated their sister badly was a fact known to almost everyone. They should have realized what Ms. Tian and Yang Liang were like, when they saw how Ms. Tian, without hesitation, went up to slap Yang Xiaoni right on the face. She must be very used to doing this, so people immediately started to look at her differently. They were such a weird couple. Ms. Tian regretted a little to have been so impulsive. So, she threw herself to the ground with her two sons. "They are bullying us." The whole Xiao family were here, including the brothers and daughter-in-laws, surrounding Yang Liang and his wife as well as the two children. It did seem like a mob bullying the weak. Ms. Fang's veins popped on her forehead. She glared at her son and frowned. "Ms. Tian, stop being a bitch. I won't be fooled by this act. Just stick to the matter. You should never dream about trying to get any sort of justice through this bitchy move. I will not allow you to throw your temper here at my home." Qiao Xian said to Lu Yan with a smile, "Go and fetch a chair for Madame Xiao and serve her some tea too." "Okay, second Mississippi." Lu Yan politely and quickly went to fetch the chair from the inner room. Qiao Xian helped Ms. Fang sit down. "Mom, please take a seat." Then Qiao Xian took over the tea and served Ms. Fang politely. "Mom, drink some tea and make sure your throat is moist. This is going to be a long conversation." Okay. Ms. Fang picked up the cup and took a sip. Then she grinned happily. She would let this bitch do whatever she wanted for now. She was simply going to watch a show. Ms. Fang felt even more happy when she saw the villagers looking at her with jealousy. Ms. Tian was dumbfounded. Yang Liang looked even more furious. You are such a bully. Ms. Ma felt itchy, so she said, Eldest sister-in-law, how can you drink tea at a time like this? Why not solve it quickly? Ms. Fang threw a cold look at her and said calmly, I can't do anything when she refuses to talk. Ms. Tian, are you ready to speak now? Ms. Tian got so annoyed that she almost spilled blood. She wished that Ms. Fang could start a fight with her, so that she could charge her for medical compensation. Also, if her two children were shocked, they would have asked for compensation for that as well. However, she started to act as the high-status Madame Xiao. She sat down, surrounded by her children, making Ms. Tian not daring to go forward. Chapter 221 Not Return. Yang Liang tried to calm himself down. My sister married your family, and you need to help her do something on the return day. But you are bullying us by not letting her return. Ms. Fang frowned. I saw them off this morning, which was also seen by the neighbors. I did not stop them. Third, Ms. Yang, explain it to them. Xiao Sanlang was about to speak when Yang Xiaoni pinched him and said with pursed lips, Mom, we did return, but I went to my parents' grave to pay tribute. Can't that be counted as a return? Yang Liang got furious. Damn girl, what are you talking about? Yang Xiaoni looked at them. Her eyes were sparkling, but she turned pale. Yang Xiaoni said to Yang Liang, I don't have a home without my parents. You know pretty well how you have treated me during the past years. You asked for 20 liang as the wedding gifts, but I have no dowry. Even my wedding gown was given by my mother-in-law. How can I be grateful to you when you have treated me like this? I can't do the return day ceremony with you. I was ordered to do the seedling work in the field, chopping wood, carrying water, laundry and all kinds of labor work, but I was never fed well. I owe you nothing. Since you are here, I want to let you know that I am not going to have any relationship with you from this moment on. You have sold me for 20 liang already. How I spend my days at my mother-in-law's home has nothing to do with you. You? Yang Liang turned pale. Many people present understood clearly how Yang Xiaoni lived her life before she got married. They sighed and discussed the matter among themselves. Yang Xiaoni had such a terrible life, but for her luck she married Xiao Sanlang. Her future would have been much worse. How shameless Yang Liang and his wife were and even dared to cause a fuss till date. Still, some people talked from the point of morality. He is your brother. Brother and sister should not hate each other. Moreover, you are married now, how much hatred can there be? Yes, they are still relatives, why be so ruthless? Your brother and sister-in-law have brought you up. You should be kind to them. Just calm down, you are a family and you should be in harmony. Yang Xiaoni screamed in anger. It didn't happen to you, so you will never know what it feels like. Anyone who says so should get relatives like this, and experience it personally. Some people became anxious and snapped. What are you talking about? Why are you cursing us? You are so immature. Yang Xiaoni snapped and sneered. You know this is a curse, right? Since you don't want anyone like this in your family, why are you forcing me? Why do I deserve to have such a hard life? Ms. Fang said coldly. All you outsiders stop interfering. We will solve the matter ourselves. You both can also leave now. Ms. Tian glared at Yang Xiaoni and felt very unconvinced. Yang Liang was very embarrassed and left with Ms. Tian in a hurry. Ms. Fang sneered behind them. It doesn't look good to make a fuss like this. The Yang family's reputation is ruined by you. We should all be sensible. Yang Liang staggered for a moment and then hurried away. Chapter 222 Bad luck. Seeing the show was over and Ms. Fang was driving people away, the audience left. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma, who believed that they were part of the family, remained and continued to giggle. They were trying to convince Yang Xiaoni not to throw a tantrum and that she had only one brother whom she should cherish, or she would regret it in future. They both sounded as if they were very concerned about her. Yang Xiaoni was really annoyed, but Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma were seniors of the family and she could not counter them. Ms. Fang got impatient and said, You two, stop talking about those scumbags. Honestly, those shameless people who keep taking advantage of their family with the excuse of family relations should never exist. Anyone who has such relatives is just pure unlucky. The faces of Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma sank. These words sounded very piercing. Mom is right. Xiao Sanlang glanced at them and said to Ms. Niu happily, Second aunt, do you think that the couple is nice? They have 2 sons, and if you think that they are nice, you can become in-laws with them and spend the rest of your lives together. Before Xiao Sanlang finished the words, Ms. Niu shouted and was about to hit Xiao Sanlang. What are you talking about? Xiao Sanlang dodged and smiled. Second aunt, you keep speaking highly of them. I am only trying to come up with some ideas for you. Why are you hitting me rather than thanking me? How ungrateful. Xianxia laughed. Seeing his wife smirk, Xiao Sanlang teased even more loudly. Ms. Niu got annoyed and said, Eldest sister-in-law, look at your 3rd son. He has no rules. Ms. Fang glanced at her and replied calmly. He is simply following your words. Why is he unruly? You can get close to the couple if you don't think that the couple is annoying. Just stop it. Eldest uncle, who had been hiding in the room, stepped forward and glared at Xiao Sanlang. When Ms. Tian and Yang Liang were making a fuss a while ago, eldest uncle got so anxious that he had no idea what to do. So, he just hid himself in the room and pretended as if he was not at home. Ms. Fang also wished that he did not show up, otherwise her husband might have said something that put her own family in the disadvantageous place. She could handle the couple when her sons and daughter-in-laws were together. Eldest uncle only showed up now. And this was the scene he ran into. Xiao Sanlang sneered. Dad, it is the second aunt who started it. Ms. Niu snapped. Why don't you talk about your 3rd aunt? Why just me alone? Ms. Ma was displeased as she threw a look at her. Second sister-in-law, what are you talking about? Why am I involved in this? Qiao Xian laughed. These two were just great together. Once they started to argue, Ms. Fang got impatient. Go to your home and fight with each other. You have no right to talk about our family. Also, if you spread any rumors about today, just wait and see what I will do. Chapter 223 Venting Anger interrupted. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma could not continue with the previous topic any longer. They mumbled curses among themselves and left. Ms. Fang glared at Xiao Sanlang and Xianxia. You two, a word. Ms. Fang did not blame them for what happened today. On the contrary, she even believed that they were not wrong, though what they did was a bit shocking. She agreed with them that it was much better to get rid of the relatives who annoyed them. Therefore, she felt a bit happy to see Xianxia doing this. It was a kind of anger venting. However, these 2 children were just too bold. They did such a thing in secret and even hid it from her. Good that they were lucky enough to have the whole family at home. Moreover, Ms. Tian as well as Yang Liang did not have anyone supporting them, so they were easily controlled and revenge was easily extracted. If it had been someone with some support who caused a big fuss and accused them, then they would have been on the back foot. They needed to be disciplined in case they did the same thing again. After being disciplined by Ms. Fang, both Xiao Sanlang and Xianxia felt distressed. But Ms. Fang only taught them a lesson rather than give them a hard time. She did not make Xianxia suffer because of this. When it was dinner time, Qiao Xian made some good dishes and Xiaomi became cheerful again after eating the food. Ms. Fang had been watching the couple, who shared the same personality. Their eyes sparkled as soon as they saw good food and forgot everything else. Ms. Fang was speechless. They deserved each other. When the work in the fields was done, Qiao Xian asked Ms. Su and Xiaomi as well as some family members to help her out in the floral field. They would be paid 30 yuan a day. Xiaomi was as surprised as Ms. Su had been at the beginning. At 30 yuan a day, which included 10 yuan for the shared savings, Ms. Fang changed the rules about shared savings. She could save 20 yuan for herself, with which she could travel into the town and buy a lot of good food to eat. She could buy sugar pastry, dried plums, melon seeds, peanuts and meat slice noodles, etc. She was going to eat everything with her husband. Qiao Xian also gave away 1 set of lipsticks to Xiaomi. Xiaomi was so thankful and glad to receive the lipsticks that she wanted to give Qiao Xian a tight hug to express her gratitude. Women could never turn down cosmetics. Xiaomi started to put it on, unlike Ms. Su, who did not use it immediately. She even put on a blusher which Xiao Sanlang bought for her. She was in a good mood after she got married. Her mother-in-law's family was great. She could eat good food, and she was becoming prettier than before. She looked so attractive that Xiao Sanlang adored her even more. The couple wanted to stick with each other from morning to the evening and kept smiling at each other and working together too. Ms. Su rolled her eyes at their behavior, and Qiao Xian felt shy about the scene. She had been overly fed by their sweet and sticky behavior. It was soon the time to plant mushrooms. Qiao Xian asked Xiao Dalong and Xiao Sanlang to chop some trees for the materials. It was not very easy to chop trees and carry them back to the yard. So, Qiao Xian paid them 60 yuan a day for the task. Chapter 224 No more trouble actually. Labor work only cost 21 in the market, and lunch was not provided. The workers were under strict watch all the time and had no spare moment to slow down. But even if that was the case, there were still many people who would want to work there. Qiao Xian could not be so particular towards her own family. Labor work was very tiring and she needed to make sure that she paid well. Xiao Sanlang and Xiao Dalong were not enough. So Qiao Xian asked Xiao Dalong to ask their cousins for help. Qiao Xian stressed repeatedly this time. If someone asks about this, just say that you are paid 21 a day, understand? 21 was a normal and slightly high price. 61 would draw too much attention from the villagers. Qiao Xian wanted to keep a low profile. She just did not want to be the center of the attention, in case she exposed herself easily. She did not want Qiao Wei to do anything crazy to her again. Xiao Dalong nodded and turned to look for his cousins. Xiao Dali and his brother were so glad that they nodded immediately, swearing not to spread the truth. 61 a day, they had never been paid so much. They could buy more than 5 kilograms of lower quality rice with just 1 day's payment. Moreover, the Xiao family offered lunch as well. Qiao Xian, together with Xiao Tao Tao, Xiao Xiaoqi, Ms. Su and Yang Xiaoni, was working on the lipsticks in the floral field. They would look to find the fungus when they had the materials ready. Qiao Xian felt that her superpower had been expanded to another hundreds of meters, and it was not very difficult to find what she needed in the mountains. There were definitely shiitakes and wooden ears, but snow fungus should be easily found as well. Qiao Xian asked Xiao Yunduan to buy some meat for home, as well as some ducks and chicken. It was summertime, and the meat could not be preserved for too long. They could keep the chicken and ducks alive until they felt like using them for food. They had more than 30 chickens with different sizes, but they were used to lay eggs, and the ducks had not grown big enough yet. They almost ran out of the fish in the jar, and in the afternoon, Qiao Xian, Xiao Tao Tao, and Xiao Dali went to catch the fish and shrimps in the river, taking a break from their heavy work. But she paid them the salary anyway. Feeling bored, Yang Xiaoni followed them to the riverside as well. Qiao Xian thought for a while and asked Lu Yan to tag along. She could help them carry the bucket or the basket. Lu Yan was already quite tamed, yet Qiao Xian still could not trust her, so she never allowed her to walk in the yard or the floral field. That she was planting fruit trees, medical herbs and making lipsticks in the floral field was a secret to be kept only among the family, and was never mentioned to Lu Yan. Lu Yan also knew that the Xiao family had some secret, or more like second miss who had a secret. She would have tried to dig it out in the beginning, but after all this time, she did not dare to. She had to pretend as if she knew nothing. Second miss was in charge of her, and what she needed was to live in peace and spend the remaining days well so as to return to the Qiao mansion safe and sound. She truly did not dare to cause any more trouble. She was wrong, so were Elder Miss, Madam Qiao and Old Master. Second Miss was not timid or cowardly. On the contrary, she was smart, bold and far more tricky than any of them could have expected. To control her, all Second Miss needed to do was to throw her into the second section of the family and make her suffer. Chapter 225 Incomplete awareness about Second Miss. Lu Yan understood clearly what she ought to do. Obey Qiao Xian's order. For example, right now, when Qiao Xian ordered her to carry the basket and bucket to the riverside, she should follow it quietly. Was she without help? No, she was just trained to carry a bucket. The group came to the riverside where the watergrass was flourishing and the surface was broad. They started to work proficiently. With her superpower, Qiao Xian could see big fish swimming across the grass freely, and she really wanted to help. It was time for her to get a fish net and learn to fish. Xianxia was fishing when young Xiaoni offered a hand. She had the basket around her waist, and went into the river to scoop up the shrimps. Xiao Taotao and Qiao Xian dug some ponds from under the stone somewhere where the water was not so deep. Lu Yan did not have the intention of going into the water, nor did Qiao Xian ask her to. She was ordered to watch over the things on the bank. She spent so many years inside the mansion, and she would have never learned how to get into water. She might even scare the fish and shrimps away after being slow-handed. Lu Yan was shocked. She knew that the second miss had changed, but what she had not expected was that she never knew second miss well enough. How did second miss learn to do this? Qiao Xian flipped the stone and caught a shrimp at each attempt. Fish and shrimp were different. They were never fast enough to escape the siege. They were slow enough to be caught, even when they ran from one rock to the other. Xiao Taotao and Qiao Xian were excited, and soon they had more than 20 and 30 shrimps in the basket. Young Xiaoni did not spend much effort to scoop the shrimps, which were of different sizes. Some were really small. Sometimes they would find a couple of loaches, some large fish or eels. Crabs were available too, but she tossed them back into the river. Xiaoqi was watching over the fishing poles. The fish here were never caught, so they were easily hooked. He kept getting the fish from the river one after another. Lu Yan went to help put the fish into the bucket. Seeing the fish in the bucket, Lu Yan could not help but feel happy, thinking that it was a fun activity. After a while, they all went home with the harvest. They had a heavy basket of small river prawns and small fish, a large basket of prawns, and 2 buckets filled with fish. There were mandarin fish, yellowhead catfish, carp, crucian carp, shrimp loach, catfish, as well as 2 black fish and a grouper. Back at home, they put the hopping fish into the jar, and Qiao Xian poured some superpower into the water, because of which the watergrass grew so that the fish started to look energetic. They kept the shrimps in the basin for dinner. Qiao Xian planned to boil the prawns in boiling water, mix it with soy sauce, vinegar, sesame oil, and ginger to dip them in water, peel off the shells of the prawns and eat them directly. That was the best way to eat fresh shrimp. Then they poured the small shrimps and fish into the basin and scooped out the small fish. The small shrimps were baked in the pot, so were the fish, which had very soft and thin bones. They needed to be carefully flipped and baked separately with the shrimps, since they cracked easily. Chapter 226. The whole family. The small fish were very fresh. They were wrapped in flour and deep fried, stirred with chilies and ginger slices. They were the best to eat like this. When Xiao Yunduan returned, he brought pork belly, pork ribs, cheese bones, and a dozen chickens and ducks. Ms. Fang put the chickens and ducks into the cage. Since they were not bred by the family, the chicken might run away. But the ducks would always linger nearby. For dinner, they stewed soup with 2 cheese bones, soybeans, and Chinese yam, marinated spare ribs and fried, stir-fried pork loin and loofah, deep-fried pork belly, saving them for the next day. There were wolfberry buds in the floral fields, so some were picked and fried. The bitter gourd on the fence had also grown, and they made another dish of fried bitter gourd with sliced meat. When the dishes were presented at the table, the whole family was drooling just with the smell. Xiao Sanlang could not help but sniff deeply, as he said emotionally, "Haven't eaten meat for a long time, now it is here again." Young Xiaoni smiled and her eyes were sparkling. She was greedy for meat as much as he was. Seeing the table full of dishes, eldest uncle opened his mouth and closed again. He thought that Qiao Xian used her own money to buy the vegetables, and he could not possibly tell her to save money, since she was willing to pay. Also, she would not listen to him either. The whole family had become so fascinated with meat, after eating the dishes made by Qiao Xian. They seemed to suffer deeply when they ran out of meat after a few days. The pork from the pigs raised by the farmers were very tasty. Qiao Xian was drooling for the meat too. She had some ribs and drank a bowl of bone soup. The shrimps were so fresh and tasty, and they were all satisfied by what they had just eaten. They were worried that the shrimp would have a weird taste, but after they had a bite, everyone found it so fresh, especially Xiao Junyan and Xiao Qing, who loved it deeply. Qiao Xian started to miss the dish made of tomato with shrimps. Her tomatoes were already growing so tall. She decided to make them bloom in a couple of days. The roses were not growing so much, but pomegranate flowers would bloom too, since the buds were ready. Qiao Xian made a count of the lipsticks. The number had already reached to 1,000. They had booked the tubes, so they could slow down at this stage. They were waiting for Xiao to fetch the goods, and the tubes to arrive, before starting to work on it again. She used her superpower to make the pomegranate flowers bloom slower than expected. It was summertime, and the weeds were growing crazily. Especially when the barren mountains were surrounding the floral field, and the grass seeds were everywhere in the field. They were burnt first, but the weeds just would not go away. So, Xian hired Ms. Su and Xianxia to help remove the weed, and she paid them accordingly. She decided to let Xiaoqi and Tao go for a walk in the mountains. Xiaoqi had not hunted for a long time in the mountains, and he felt itchy to go there. Yunduan decided to take a break too, after studying hard for so long. So the four of them went into the mountains together. Xian had the intention of visiting the place where they had never visited before. Yunduan as well as the other two agreed readily. When Daddy Zhao was still alive, he had once taken Xiaoqi into deep mountains that were deep. So, Xiaoqi was used to this kind of environment, and he was never afraid. But deep mountains were, after all, dangerous as they went in. It was summertime, and the bugs, mosquitoes, snakes and all were quite active. They really needed to watch out for the poisonous ones. Chapter 227 Into the Mountains again. When Xiaoqi spoke of this, Xian was reminded as well. So, she went into town to buy some medicine first, and was fully prepared before heading to the mountains. The mountain was very far, so the four of them started before the sun rose. The air was very cool at that moment. Xiaoqi was quite energetic. He became more active as he walked into the mountains. He had a lot of fun going along with Tao. Yunduan was walking next to Xian, reminding her what she should watch out for, like the branches, which he kicked away for her sake. Xian did not need his help. She could see everything, and as long as she wanted to, she could use her superpower to move the veins away. But Xian felt sweet in heart, seeing her husband care for her in this way. She was not going to give this man to anyone else. The four of them did not intend to head into very deep mountains, since they needed to factor in the return time. Seeing the surroundings getting stranger, they slowed down. Xiaoqi's plan was to hunt and take some animals home. He intended to get some rare prey, because roosters and rabbits were too commonplace for him, especially since he took such a long and difficult trip here. They talked and walked, as they observed the surroundings. There were many kinds of bamboo in the mountains, and the bamboo shoots were seen everywhere too. From the time of the solar term of insect awakening all the way to the end of July, there were a lot of fresh bamboo shoots growing. As they were walking in the deep mountains, they would every now and then run into small patches of bamboo shoots. There were many mushrooms too. Wild berries were looking ripe as well. However, they were too far away from the village, so they dropped the idea of bringing those home. They needed to work on more precious things, with the limited energy they had. They only paused to pick the rarely seen and delicious mushrooms like porcini mushrooms, Hericium arenaceus, wild red mushrooms, and small flower mushrooms. Especially Hericium arenaceus, which was rarely seen. They were lucky enough to get many on this trip. They even found a bunch of snow fungus, which were picked when ripe, weighing around 2 or 5 kilograms. Xian bore this place in mind. She would come to pick the mushrooms when they had the materials ready. Yunduan understood that the snow fungus were valuable, but he had never seen them before. When Xiaoqi and Tao heard from Xian that snow fungus could be more valuable than gastrodia when sun-dried, they put them away carefully, fearing that they would break them. Tao's eyes were sparkling, as she smiled. "Fifth sister-in-law, are you going to plant this in our yard too? That would be great." Xiaoqi struck his head and smiled. "Yes, no wonder it sounds so familiar. Let's bear this place in mind and we can come back to fetch the seeds next time." Seeing that they were not greedy but working for her devotedly, Xian felt warmth inside her heart, nodding and smiling. "Yes, but it is not very easy to find it in the mountains, and we need to work on it. We are going to make a lot of money if we manage to plant them well." Xiaoqi and Tao were the biggest helpers when Xian was starting her business. So, Xian decided to pay them a salary and give them shares too. When her business became bigger, their share would be so much that they would never need to worry about money for the rest of their lives. Xiaoqi and Tao did not think that far. They were just very happy that their fifth sister-in-law had never been stingy towards them, and they did not need to worry about anything. Chapter 228 Deep Mountain. Apart from snow fungus and some precious things from the mountains, Qiao Xian, with her superpower, saw some Ganodermic, few of which were too small and difficult to find, or just too far from them. So, she gave up mentioning them. They only ran into two pieces which were of beautiful colors and in the size of an adult's hand. She did not manage to hide the Ganodermas when she was picking them, so she decided to sun-dry them to stew chicken and ducks as supplementary ingredients. She had plenty of money right now, and she did not want to head to the town just to run this errand. In a moist forest with rotten leaves, Qiao Xian picked several orchid trees. She did not recognize the species, but she went with her intuition. She believed that they were rare things. So when no one was watching, she put a couple of pieces into the space, which did not turn her down, and accepted them all. These newly arrived orchids were obediently planted on the edge of the other kinds, slowly taking root in the soil. The branches and leaves stretched, and the space was instantly filled with a touch of greenery and vitality. They ate some food in the mountains and walked for 1 more hour, before Xiao Yunduan said, "It is getting late, let's head home." It would take them a lot of time to arrive home. Xianxia let out a small cry and scratched his head in distress. "We didn't have much luck today. We haven't seen any big things. Let me at least take some small ones home." Xiao Taotao smiled. "Seventh brother, it would be too scary if we really run into some big things. I think roosters and rabbits are enough. Also, the fifth sister-in-law has found so many snow fungus, which should be better than those big things." The three of them laughed. So did Xiaoqi. "That is true." Xiaoqi concentrated on looking for other prey. They were deep in the mountains with hardly any people and excellent ecology. As a result, there were many prey to be hunted. Qiao Xian helped along. She led the way, and soon, Xiaoqi got 3 roosters and 2 rabbits. They could have run into wild boars and tigers, but Qiao Xian foresaw those animals and guided them away. Soon the 4 of them headed home. They picked some wild bamboo shoots on the way home again. There were normally 2 kinds of wild bamboo shoots available in this season of the year, the sweet and the bitter, both of which were of a small size and turned out to be just slightly bigger than a coin after being peeled. Sweet bamboo shoots did not need to be blanched. They could be cut into thin slices and put directly into the pot. They could be fried or made into soup. It would taste very sweet and fresh with no need to add meat. The original taste of fresh bamboo shoots would be retained in the dish. Bitter bamboo shoots needed to be blanched so the bitterness could be removed. It could be cooked with meat and chilies. When she got home, Qiao Xian placed those white fungus in a dustpan and put them in the garden to expose them to the sun. The 2 Ganoderma lucidum were also dried together. There were a lot of porcini mushrooms, Hericium arenaceus, and red mushrooms that were picked this time. Such mountain goods were too precious, and they needed to be kept and eaten slowly. Qiao Xian also dried some of them. The remaining would be used for chicken stew at dinner. The orchids were planted in the corner of the yard rather than in the pot. Qiao Xian planned to take care of them with her superpower and see if they could grow well. In the evening, Ms. Su and Yang Xiaoni came home. There were many weeds growing in the floral field, and the roots were stubborn in the first year. Therefore, cutting weeds became a very difficult job. Ms. Su had some plans of her own. She could be calculative, but she never idled around, whilst Yang Xiaoni decided to start fresh, so she worked very hard as well. Chapter 229 show the 2 of them removed the weeds cleanly and the roots were all dug out. They were sun-dried and then would be buried later on. Ms. Su was worried that Qiao Xian would call them lazy, so she explained to her that the reason why the weeds were not thoroughly cleaned was because the job was very difficult to do, and that they were not lazy. Qiao Xian never thought of her in this way, so she did not understand why Ms. Su would explain this to her. When she understood what Ms. Su intended to tell her, she consoled her instead. That was when Ms. Su became assured. During dinner, Qiao Xian cooked again. She planned to use Hericium arenaceus and porcini. The menu included stewed chicken, fried rabbit with spices, braised rabbit pork belly, sweet bamboo shoots with clear soup, as well as some seasonal vegetables. She had not eaten rabbit for a while and she was greedy for it. When it was time to cook, Qiao Xian suddenly saw someone passing by the yard. It was Ms. Fang, who was playing with her granddaughter. She exchanged a few words with a neighbor who went away soon after. Excited, Ms. Fang handed her granddaughter to Ms. Su. Something is going on. I will go and check it out. Then she headed away. Xianxia loved gossip too, so she wanted to follow along. So did Qiao Xian, who asked Xiaoqi and Xiao Tao Tao to join them as well. They lived in a very small village, and they should care about each other. If something was happening, they would definitely go and watch it. Ms. Fang was excited as she ran ahead. She looked so obvious that she was looking forward to watching a big show. Qiao Xian understood the whole story. Fifth Grandma Ding and Fifth Grandpa Ding had problems with their in-laws, and they heard that their granddaughter Ding Xiang of the second section of the family was making a big fuss. Hence, they suddenly got very interested. At this moment, Fifth Grandpa Ding was already surrounded by numerous villagers, who were all whispering to each other. A young girl was seated on the ground, as she said furiously, "We are all grandchildren, how can we be treated so differently? You favor the other sections of the family so much, and you call me immoral? You deserve to be punished." Fifth Grandma Ding got so angry that she leaned backwards, shouting at Ding Xiang. "How dare you accuse me? I am your grandma. I will beat you to death. No need to keep you alive, bitch." Ding Xiang snapped and sneered with her head raised. "I am your grandchild. How noble are you, when you call me a bitch? We, from the second section of the family, work all the time, and we are never fed well. My mom is too sick to get up right now, but you still think that she is lazy. You give food to my cousins, but you never give me and my brother anything. How can you be treated as the senior members of the family? You can be a senior member to anyone who wants you. How dare you lecture me? What right do you have?" The villagers all burst into laughter. Some also felt sorry for them. Fifth sister-in-law Ding is too prejudiced. Ding Zhu and his wife are just way too obedient. True, every family has its problems. Parents can't always balance the relationship, but they can't be too biased as well. Ding Xiang used to look so obedient and silent, but look at her right now. She has been bullied and can't stand it anymore. Honestly, they could all sit down and talk about this. It is not proper to speak with senior members in this way. Yeah, she has no rules. No one would stand this kind of arguing. Chapter 235. Grandpa Ding's granddaughter Fifth Grandma Ding got so annoyed by what Ding Xiang said that she went up to kick her and shouted, "I will beat you to death, you bitch." Ding Xiang could not stand it. So, she got up and ran away. You are the senior member, but you don't act like one. The only thing you can do is to put on the seniority hat. Bah, I can't stand that anymore. I want to separate the family. Ah! I am dying, I am dying. Fifth Grandma Ding shouted. Instead of running after Ding Xiang, she screamed at Ding Xiang's father. "You immoral man. How can you allow your daughter to bully me? Maybe you and your wife have instructed her to do so? What sins have I done so that I have to go through this trouble?" Fifth Grandpa Ding's face changed as he snapped. She has no rules and she dares to say such terrible things. Catch the damned girl. Ding Zhu turned pale out of fright and kept apologizing to Fifth Grandma Ding, swearing to God that he and his wife did not order their child to do so and that he would never do anything like this. Ms. Zhou kept sobbing in silence. Ding Xiang's heart cooled. She shouted even more loudly at Fifth Grandma Ding and Fifth Grandpa Ding for being prejudiced, as well as the exaggerating and annoying things the first and the third section of the family did. She insisted vehemently that she wanted to leave the family. The first and the third section of the family, who were watching the show, got annoyed too. They rushed forward with the cousins and caught Ding Xiang without much effort. Ding Xiang cursed inwardly. "You ruthless family, stingy and evil. You are nothing. My parents will be killed by you one day. Just wait and see. If my parents die someday, it will be your fault. You black-hearted people. You will be condemned by God. Shut up now." Fifth Grandpa Ding got so angry that he shivered. "What are you talking about, you damned girl? Can't you talk properly? How dare you curse your own family? You are mental and talking nonsense. Second son, what are you doing being her parents? You should teach her well." Fifth Grandma Ding slapped right on Ding Xiang's face, shouting, "This damned girl is crazy. No one with the right brain will talk like this. You are immoral, immoral." Ding Xiang's face turned swollen. But she continued. This is all your fault. I am mental because you made me so. I want to live separately. Will you agree? Of course not. You will have no servant to order around. No one will help you who are lazy, mean and evil. Ah! Fifth Grandma Ding got so angry that she almost fainted. She raised her hand and was about to slap Ding Xiang again. I will kill you now. Ms. Zhou suddenly rushed forward with her son in her arms. She shielded Ding Xiang as she kneeled down, begging. Mom, she is too young to understand what is going on, please. Forgive her, please. Shut up. Bitch, you have taught her all of this. How dare you ask for forgiveness? Fifth Grandma Ding kicked Ms. Zhou, who fell backwards. Her son was less than 3 years old, and he was crying loudly as he called out to his mother. With her son in her arms, Ms. Zhou felt so desperate that she cried. Those bystanders did not think that this should go on like this. They went up to get Fifth Grandma Ding, telling her to calm down, and helped Ms. Zhou and her son get up. Some people tried to tell Ding Xiang not to talk anymore and apologized to her grandparents. Chapter 231 Wrap up the matter. Fifth Grandpa Ding glared at Fifth Grandma Ding too. It was his wife who was too prejudiced, and had been treating the second section of the family badly. The second section of the family were too obedient to say anything, and he never took their attitudes as important. But Ding Xiang, the damned girl, bore the grudge in heart. This damned girl behaved openly like this, and his second son and his wife might have held the same grudge too. They had made the whole family into a joke in front of the village. Fifth Grandpa Ding was very unhappy about Fifth Grandma Ding, and was also upset about the second section of the family. Why could they not point out their grudge privately rather than make a scene here? Did the second section of the family think that it was a good thing to be the joke of the village? Fifth Grandpa Ding decided to wrap up the matter properly. He had to do so. Otherwise the rumor would only get bigger. His grandchildren were getting older every single day, and they should get married when it was time. His family could not be humiliated at this juncture. Just stop it. Fifth Grandpa Ding glanced at Fifth Grandma Ding and his children as he looked at Ding Zhu. Zhu, just tell everyone if your parents have treated you badly? Frightened, Ding Zhu shook his head subconsciously. No, of course not. Fifth Grandpa Ding snorted. Have you ever thought about leaving the family? No, I never think about this. My parents are so good. How can I leave you? You really never thought about this? Never, Dad. Good. I knew that I would never have raised an evil son. Fifth Grandpa Ding calmed himself down and turned to Ding Xiang. Girl, are you jinxed that you have spoken such impolite words? Just say sorry to your grandma, and we will drop the matter. After all, you are simply being impulsive at this moment, but we can forget about it. Fifth Grandma Ding glared at Ding Xiang and sneered. Are you confused as to have said something like that? With a swollen face, Ding Xiang looked at Fifth Grandpa Ding with widened eyes. Grandpa, why can't we live separately? We can still treat you well when we live separately. I don't want my parents to live a tired life. Moreover, neither of the uncles ever work well. Why can't we just live separately? Why not? Many people in our village live separately. Just shut up. They live separately for some reason, but many are living together. You should get out of our family if you want to live separately. I will see if you can survive. Fifth Grandpa Ding's face sank. Girl, you are definitely jinxed. You are talking nonsense. You were not like this before. How can you speak with me in such an impolite way? You are not being polite towards us. Ding Xiang said, what I want is just to live separately. Fifth Grandma Ding sneered. Why should we listen to you? You are nothing. I am nothing, then you can separate us. You! Shut up! Fifth Grandpa Ding snapped as he said with a sunk face. Girl, if you are jinxed, I will let you stay in the ancestral hall for a couple of days, and the gods will drive away the evil air on you. It was a naked threat. The ancestral hall was damp and dark, where the ancestral tablets were placed. People could feel cold and dank air in that place. It was always dark even in the daytime, let alone deep at night. Chapter 232 Rites of Discourse. It was not easy to stay there for a couple of days. At least for a teenage girl, It would be very scary. Ding Xiang looked up and said, I can stay there, but are we living separately afterwards? Fifth Grandpa Ding's face sank utterly after that question. Second son, do you want to live separately? No, of course not. Dinger Zhu was dumbfounded, wondering what made his girl say so. Fifth Grandpa Ding sneered. It seems that you have not taught her well. Hence, the girl is totally jinxed. Dinger Zhu panicked. Dad, she is just confused. Ms. Zhou was terrified too. Ding Xiang, just stop talking. Apologize to your grandma and your grandpa. We are not going to live separately, okay? Don't talk like this. Ding Xiang glanced at her parents. She looked desperate and distressed. She had no rights of discourse. She could not change a thing. She tried her best to shout out what she was thinking, but everyone called her confused, jinxed. She was denied. She could do nothing when she was under someone else's mercy. She was capable of doing nothing. What a goddamned world. She just could not stand that anymore. No wonder. The original host died. She looked around and felt exhausted. Ding Xiang suddenly felt a bit desperate. Anyway, she was not going to tender any apologies because she never made any mistake. That was the bottom line she had. They could do whatever they wanted to her. She could not ride over them. Fifth Grandpa Ding forced her. Girl, just say sorry. We can drop it as long as you apologize. We are a family and we will live happily forever. Ding Xiang sneered. This pretentious tone made her feel so disgusted. What were you pretending to be? You were not at all noble. She was not gullible. She knew that they were just trying to save their face. She was being forced to repent so that their reputation could be saved. She had thought that as long as she could draw the attention of the villagers, she could force the whole family to yield. But she was wrong. Nothing happened so easily. She was alone, and no matter how hard she tried, she could not get out of this mud. Seeing Ding Xiang staying silent, Fifth Grandpa Ding got angry and said coldly, You are definitely jinxed, so you talk nonsense. Elder, second and third son, just take her to the ancestral hall so she can reflect herself in front of the ancestors. No, please, Dad. Ding Xiang, just apologize now. Dad, she is confused. I can discipline her later, but please, forgive her. Dinger Zhu and Ms. Zhou turned pale as they begged for forgiveness. Ms. Zhou cried so hard that she almost collapsed, but for her sister-in-laws who supported her. The ancestral hall was very scary, but a maiden who was 15 years old, who could have a good marriage, would have her name ruined if she was ordered to stay in the ancestral hall. They would never find any good suitors for her. Chapter 233 Qiao Xian's vision. No matter how much Ms. Zhou cried, Ding Xiang was still driven to the ancestral hall. The villagers exchanged murmurs among themselves. Some were talking about Fifth Grandma Ding, some were showing compassion to Dinger Zhu and Ms. Zhou, and some even believed that Ding Xiang had been really jinxed. True, she must be under influence. How else can a girl behave like this? Yeah, did you see her eyes? They look weird. She is a grandchild, and she needs to behave like one. How could she talk to her grandparents like this? She is jinxed, and she is confused. I wonder if she will get better soon. Not sure. After the show, they all went back to their own homes. Ms. Fang felt a bit interested and sneered. That old woman is such an evil person. How could she force her own son and granddaughter to be like this? She will have to pay for her actions. Ms. Fang was gossiping when she saw Qiao Xian, who seemed to be totally transfixed. She tugged at her arm and said, Let's go home. You got frightened? Ms. Fang showed her concern. She was thinking that Qiao Xian grew up in the mansion instead of a village, and she might have gotten scared after she saw what happened. Qiao Xian brought herself back and smiled. I am fine, Mom. I just didn't expect such a thing to happen. No one did. Ms. Fang sighed. That grandma is too cold-hearted. Ms. Fang was complaining to young Xiaoni on the way home, but Qiao Xian was thinking about something else. She had gotten dizzy, and just like how she ran into the man whom she and Xiao Yunduan saved last time, she witnessed numerous images in her head again. Ding Xiang was in those images. She was going to have a very bright future. Qiao Xian made up her mind to help Ding Xiang out. She would lose nothing if that vision did not come true, but if she was right, then she would have saved an important figure. When she made up her mind, she started to think about how to do it. She decided to do it alone, in secret. After all, she had no rights to get involved with other people's family affairs, and if she offered to help Ding Xiang, her family would not approve of it. They might call her evil too. It would be a tough thing to explain. If the rumor arose about her, she would be driven mad. The whole family finished dinner, and Qiao Xian drove Xiao Yunduan back to the room, and then left home with an excuse that she needed to check out the tomato buds. She found out where the ancestral hall was. It was located in the west side of the village. It was big and isolated. That was a good thing. A tree was next to the ancestral hall, and Qiao Xian used her superpower, so that the branches bent down for her to climb up. Then the branches took her to the wall and bent down for her to go inside the wall. Qiao Xian hopped down and started to walk in, within a safe distance. The ancestral hall was a very scary place, and it was even more scary at night. But Qiao Xian was feeling very calm. After all, she had time-traveled and got superpower with her. What was she afraid of anyway? Ding Xiang was locked in the left wing room of the ancestral hall, and when Qiao Xian found her, she was sitting with arms around her knees, looking cold. Chapter 234 Starvation. Both of them froze as their eyes met. Ding Xiang did not expect that someone would be here at night. Qiao Xian realized that Ding Xiang was not looking scared. This girl was indeed strong-minded. Ding Xiang glanced at the basket in Qiao Xian's hands. She seemed to have smelled something. She swallowed her saliva, and her eyes started sparkling. "Have you got any food?" Ding Xiang licked her lips and asked in a hoarse voice. She was really famished. She was never fed at her home, and no one gave her food after she was locked in the ancestral hall. When she heard the sound of footsteps, she thought that it was her mother. But it was not. She felt a bit disappointed, but not that disappointed. Ms. Zhou was too weak to fight against her grandma, who would definitely stop Ms. Zhou from giving her any food. Ms. Zhou could do nothing but cry. She was her mother, but she could not even defend her child who was tormented by her own family. She felt let down as she thought about this. She was so hungry that she did not even bother to ask why this woman was in front of her. All she needed was food. Qiao Xian smiled and let out a sigh of relief. She had been thinking how to explain to Ding Xiang when they met, but she turned out to be so straightforward. This was a personality she liked. When she thought of how she fought against fifth Grandpa Ding and the whole family, and she sighed. What a special girl. She was really different from ordinary farmers. "Oh yes, but drink some water first, I have added some honey in it." Qiao Xian nodded and went to her. She squatted and took out the food and water for Ding Xiang. Ding Xiang took the kettle and poured the water into an empty bowl with shivering hands, then she finished it directly, letting out a sigh of relief and saying emotionally, "It is so sweet." She could not wait any longer and started to eat. Qiao Xian had expected that she would not have been given any food by the family, so she only got one bowl of rice, one dish of bamboo shoots, and several pieces of mushrooms for her to eat. But Ding Xiang did not think too much, and she started to eat everything immediately. When the food was done, Ding Xiang wiped her mouth and put down the chopsticks and bowls. She almost cried. How could she have time traveled to this goddamn place? She could not even get to eat one bowl of rice. How happy it was to be able to finally eat. "Oh yes." Ding Xiang pressed down her tears and smiled. "You are the second miss from the Qiao family, right? Why did you give me food? Anyway, thanks." Qiao Xian had already understood that she was different, so it was normal that she could guess who she was. She was different from the villagers here. "You are right." Qiao Xian smiled and added, "I don't approve of what fifth Grandpa Ding did, so no need to thank me." Ding Xiang grinned. "So you felt sorry for me? Anyway, thanks." Chapter 235 A pure-minded girl. It was a great comfort, if you could have someone who felt sorry for you. Ding Xiang sighed inwardly. She was a lady born in a big family, and yet she had such a simple mind. Fearing that she would not believe her, Qiao Xian said in a small voice, "Let me tell you something, but please don't tell anyone else. My lineal mother is not kind either, and I felt really sorry for you when I saw you being treated like that." This lady was so simple-minded. Ding Xiang replied involuntarily. "Lucky that you ran into me, But let me tell you, poor people are never kind. Those farmers are too poor to think about justice and fairness. They are just greedy and private, so never be too kind or feel sorry for others, otherwise you will get yourself in a lot of trouble, alright? Xiao was startled. What was she talking about? Did she think that she was an innocent, pure-minded rich girl? Xiao chuckled in her heart. She was not pure-minded. She could be quite ruthless. But she found Ding Xiang getting more and more interesting. Seeing Xiao's seemingly surprised look, Ding Xiang explained little by little. Look at what you did tonight. I am locked here because I have been punished. You delivered food to me, and if you don't help me do what I ask of you, I may threaten you about telling everyone else about your deeds. As a result, you will land into trouble for saving me here. Xiao, I understand what you mean. But I know you won't. Don't worry, I am not that gullible, and I never show kindness to others easily. Ding Xiang smiled. How do you know I won't? Xiao was speechless. She could not explain it. Just a feeling. My sixth sense is always right. What feeling? Just an intuition. Anyway, they needed to drop the topic. You should never be this nosy anymore, got it? Oh yes, Xiao switched to the embarrassing topic. What are your plans for the future? Future? Ding Xiang sneered. At this juncture, she wasn't even sure whether she would have a future. She had understood clearly that she alone could not fight against a family, especially since she was born in this era. She was called jinxed by her family and was even considered as immoral. Now, she was starving in the locked ancestral hall. Maybe she would be forced into marriage, and the only thing she could do to fight against that was to die. Xiao thought for a while and tried to persuade her. I believe that if you want to achieve something, you should not lunge at it. You can try to take a roundabout. For example, you embarrassed your grandparents today. That would irritate them more. You will end up being in trouble again and again if you fail to bring them to your side. Xiao was really curious whether this stubborn personality girl would have a flourishing future like she had foreseen. But she had developed some feelings towards this girl and would like to give her a hand. Moreover, when she heard some details about 5th Grandma Ding from Ms. Fang, Xiao believed that Ding Xiang was really unlucky to have been born in a family like that. Chapter 236, where Ding Xiang smiled and nodded. You are right. But what she was thinking inwardly was that this noble lady simply knew nothing. Retreating and playing along? She would very much like to do so, but the problem was that it would not work out for her. Her parents had already been under the charge of her grandma, and neither of them would take her side. She was alone, and there was nothing she could do. She had softened her stance before, but that did not work. Her parents had been frightened and they could not change themselves. They were used to being like that, and she could not change them at all. Also, her grandma was a very tricky person, and when she sensed that she had instigated her parents to rebel, she would be doomed. There was nothing she could do, except to throw herself out to get them all condemned. But the result was that she lost the game completely. Honestly, the reason why her grandma treated her father like that was because her father was down to earth and the second son, who could accept his mother's bad temper. He was never treated well, but he never complained. That was why he ended up being like this. Obedient people always get bullied. Just go home, don't come back tomorrow. Ding Xiang said to Xiao. Xiao nodded, and gave 4 eggs wrapped in yellow paper as well as a small water bottle as well as a tiny porcelain bottle with honey to Ding Xiang. You can eat them tomorrow. She could not come to this place during the daytime. If she was spotted, she would be in trouble, just as Ding Xiang said. Ding Xiang got startled all of a sudden. She looked deep into Xiao's eyes and said lightly as she took over the things, "Thanks." Xiao waved her hands, smiling. "I am leaving now." "Okay." The moment Xiao walked out of the door, Ding Xiang called out and stopped her. She raised her hands to sort out the hair on her head, saying to Xiao seriously, "If there is any chance in the future, I will repay you, definitely." "Thanks." This was the only kindness she had received after she came to this world. She would always bear this gesture in her heart. After all, her parents were kneeling down to her grandparents and had decided to leave her alone. How ridiculous. If they really loved her as their daughter, they would have done whatever they could to fight against her grandparents. At that time, her grandparents would not be able to do anything. They could not possibly kill them, right? The fundamental point was that she was not that important in their hearts. Qiao Xian nodded with a smile, after she was taken aback for a moment. Okay, I will bear this in mind. Haha. Qiao Xian was very happy. This was exactly what she had come for. It was great that Ding Xiang had the same idea. Ding Xiang smiled and could not help but get emotional. The second miss of the Qiao family was indeed so pure in mind. Qiao Xian answered too straightforwardly to let Ding Xiang feel that she was just teasing her, rather than take her words seriously. But Ding Xiang was not joking. Qiao Xian left the ancestral hall in the same way as she came in. She needed to head home fast. She felt glad inside her heart and felt that she had fulfilled her mission. But the moment she walked into the room, she ran into Xiao Yunduan, who asked her, "Where have you been?" "Oh well." Qiao Xian normally returned to the room with Xiao Yunduan, but it was very late for her to show up. So, Xiao Yunduan asked her curiously. She thought for a while. I just suddenly thought of the medical herbs in the yard. I just went to check them. After all, I hadn't seen them in a while. Chapter 237 Blank in Mind. Is that really the case? Xiao Yunduan looked at the clothes around her waist. Qiao Xian looked down subconsciously and saw that her clothes had some strings stuck on them. She would not have such a thing attached to her if she had been in the yard for medical herbs. Qiao Xian snapped at herself inwardly. Her husband must have become suspicious. She should have found a better excuse. She could have used this excuse to get herself out of the suspicion of the others in the family. But her husband was smart enough not to believe her words. Oh well. Qiao Xian smiled and confessed, as she came to Xiao Yunduan. Well, don't get mad if I tell you. I visited Ding Xiang at the ancestral hall, and I brought her some food. What? Hush. Qiao Xian covered Xiao Yunduan's lips. Keep your voice down. As the gentle and soft hand covered his mouth, he could feel softness spreading across his body, so he was dumbfounded, not daring to move. He was about to talk when he realized that his lips would rub across her hand. He stiffened even more, and did not dare to move at all. His ears were totally red and he got so nervous that he started to breathe heavily. Qiao Xian was so anxious that she did not realize what she had done. She blinked as she turned to him, looking pitiful. I can explain it to you. The two of them were standing very close to each other, and she looked so beautiful. She seemed to have a stimulating fragrance that went in from the tip of his nose, making him feel excited. With his eyes staring at her, he felt his mind turn blank. As she felt some warmth on her hand, Qiao Xian suddenly realized what she had done. She had her palm over his mouth. This was very embarrassing. Qiao Xian let out a small, low cry and blushed. She calmed down after a moment and withdrew her hand, repeating her words just to drive away the embarrassing moment. I can explain to you. As the soft feeling on his lips went away, Xiao Yunduan let out a secret sigh of relief. But at the same time, he wished that the palm could have stayed on for a bit longer. You can explain now. His head had turned messy and he spoke up randomly. Qiao Xian coughed and composed herself. She started speaking in a small voice. I am telling you the truth. It is just, I found Ding Xiang very pitiful to have a family like that. No one would help her, so I gave her some food to eat. You won't think I'm nosy, right? I was reminded of how I was treated at the Qiao family. I am not blaming you. Xiao Yunduan's heart softened as he heard her mentioning the Qiao family. He asked her gently. You were not noticed, right? Qiao Xian had not expected that her explanation would work so well. She felt a bit guilty but smiled. I was careful. You should discuss such matters with me in the future, okay? Okay. I will keep this a secret for you. Don't mention it to anyone else. Of course, you are the only person I told this to. Xiao Yunduan smiled and felt much better. He reminded her again. Don't tell Mom about this either. It is never good to tell one more person about it. Actually, he was worried that his mother would blame her if she knew about it. Chapter 238. Good thing Qiao Xian did not give her too many things, nor did she want to tell anyone about it. But for Xiao Yunduan, who suspected her, she would not have disclosed it to Xiao Yunduan. So, she just nodded and agreed. Unassured, Xiao Yunduan stressed some more and then finally stopped. Qiao Xian let out a sigh of relief. The following day, Qiao Xian, Xiao Yunduan, Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao went into the mountains for a walk. They did not find any major things the day before, and Xiao Xiaoqi wasn't very satisfied with the result. He was motivated to find some bigger prey. Feeling bored, Qiao Xian decided to tag along. When she proposed it, Xiao Yunduan suggested following her into the mountains as well, at the premise that he had not affected his study plan. He could make up for it later. The four of them went into the area they had never been to before. The green hills were quiet, the ancient trees were towering, and the thick fallen leaves were rustling. The temperature in the mountains was much lower than outside, and it was cool to walk in it. From time to time, the crisp and pleasant sound of birds chirping could be heard, and the echo reverberated through the valley, sounding quite melodious. With her superpower, Qiao Xian could see all the good mountain stuff. But they were only here to pick some precious mushrooms. Xiao Xiaoqi found some bamboo partridges in the forest, and hunted them successfully. Bamboo partridge were as big as pegans, and the flesh could be very tasty, different from ordinary roosters. They were just walking, when Qiao Xian saw something with her superpower. She saw that there was a patch of tea wood standing out on the valley in the southeast direction. Two of the tea trees were strong and the leaves were both dark green, looking quite tempting. Qiao Xian did not have much knowledge of tea. She had once seen many wild-growing tea trees here, which did not draw her attention. But this patch of tea trees gave her a very strange, different feeling. Her sense told her that these were wonderful things. Motivated, Qiao Xian believed that their trip could be rewarding with this. The two old tea trees were ancient, and the leaves were tender. They could be obtained and taken for tea at home. Therefore, Qiao Xian secretly took the other three members of their team in that direction. As they came to the feet of the mountains, she pointed at the patch of tea trees on the valley within their sights. Look, that is a cluster of tea trees. The leaves are so tender and we can take some home. The tea made out of it should be very tasty. Xiao Yunduan spotted them too. He had more knowledge of tea than Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao. He added with a smile after seeing the patch. The leaves look very good. Let's get going. Okay, fifth brother and fifth sister-in-law. Qi and Taotao would never object to the suggestion made by them. Both of them were very interested in food and drinks. Xiao Xiaoqi asked, "Fifth sister-in-law, apart from making tea, can the tea leaves be used for anything else?" Xiao Taotao's eyes sparkled and she looked excited. Qiao Xian nodded and smiled. Of course they can be used to fry with shrimps, eggs, and make pancakes. We can use tea water to stew chicken and bones, and we can even add the leaves to braised dishes, or stir-fry. Anyway, let's take them home. Chapter 239. Flourishing. Okay. Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao laughed and looked excited and hopeful. Let's go and pick the tea leaves. The patch of tea trees was located a bit over halfway of the mountains, and the team who was used to walking in the mountains reached the place almost an hour later, since the mountain was so large. Qiao Xian had already sensed the scent of tea when they were very far away. She felt even more motivated. Equipped with a superpower, she was well connected with plants in this world, and she was even more sensitive towards things which were extraordinary. As they went closer to the tea woods, Xiao Yunduan could smell the scent of tea as well. It smells so good. Yeah, it is so good. Before Qiao Xian could say anything, everyone else already understood that it was a good thing in front of them. Apart from the two ancient large tea trees, there were some middle-sized ones as well as small sprouts everywhere on the ground. Both Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao were good at climbing trees, and they prepared to go up. Fifth sister-in-law, are there any rules to pick the tea leaves? Just the tip will do, right? Qiao Xian nodded. Yes, don't get too much of the stem. 2 tender leaves should be enough. The two of them nodded and went to the top of the trees. Qiao Xian smiled at Xiao Yunduan. Let's go and get them. Xiao Yunduan nodded. They had some rug bags with them as they went into the mountains, and they came handy now. The leaves were not very heavy, and those 2 large bags should be enough. Back facing the others, Xian pinched a small tea tree sprout and tried to stuff it into the space. Xian's eyes sparkled as she realized what happened. It went in. It seemed that the tea trees which she could not name were really precious things. Xian brought some more trees to space. The spring became increasingly flourishing. They started to head home after getting 2 bags full of tea leaves. The tea leaves seemed like precious things, so the trip was worth it, though they never got any prey. Xian got them to dig some more arm-sized tea tree sprouts and tied them together, so they could take them home. Soon, they ran into another patch of small tea woods. The tea wood was much smaller than the first one they saw, and apart from one ancient tree, there were some other mid-sized ones. The sprouts were everywhere, growing in the shadow. The trees probably could not grow well due to the lack of sun then oxygen. The tree looked quite special too. The trunk and twigs were purple whilst the leaves were dark green, and the new sprouts were tenderly red. They could smell the scent of roses as well as herbs. Xianxia and Tao, who had no idea about tea, could not help but praise. It smells so good. They did not want to leave like this. So they paused and started to pick some more. Xian delivered some more tree sprouts into the space, which accepted them as well. She got 7 or 8 pieces into space, and suddenly, she could tell that her superpower had been expanded. More importantly, the mist around the small wooden house was diminished to some degree. Surprised, Xian glanced about and without letting Xiao Yunduan see her, she pushed some more tree sprouts into the space. Chapter 240 Escape. However, the space did not undergo any major changes, apart from becoming more flourishing. Xian finally came to the conclusion after many times of experience that she needed to get many precious plants into space, so that the amount could lead to major changes. Xian got a large bag of purple-colored tea leaves, as well as some tea tree sprouts. They tied them up together and started to head home. It was a good harvest. As they went back home, Xian asked Tao for help. They planted the tea trees in the yard and at the corners of the floral field. Then they started to process the fresh tea leaves. No one had any idea how to process it in a complicated way, but the villagers usually fried them and got the water out, so the tea leaves would be in the best condition for storage. This time they did the same. The tea leaves relieved the thirst, so villagers loved to have some planted next to their yards. In this way, they could pick some and fry them for daily tea drinking. These tea trees were not precious ones, but ordinary ones. So they did not need to be taken well care of, nor did they need to be chopped or trimmed. The trees they brought home today were apparently different from the ones they drank at home. Xian was thinking about taking some twigs and leaves for Manager Qin to take a look. If it was a precious kind, she would turn the field she bought from the Jianghu village into a tea garden. Xian used some fresh tea leaves to make the dishes for dinner. These 2 kinds of tea leaves became increasingly fragrant, and the scent made people feel fresh in their minds. Ms. Fang praised it highly and smiled. I never expected that there would be such fabulous things in the mountains. These leaves seem to taste different from what we drink every day. Xian smiled. There are many precious things in the mountains. Qi is familiar with the paths, so he takes us to these places. He knows far more than others. Ms. Fang laughed. He hunts, but he doesn't know about tea. It is Yuan who helped. Ms. Fang and Xian exchanged a few words and said suddenly, "Remember Ding Xiang who was trapped in the ancestral hall? When Ms. Zhou brought her food at lunchtime, she was gone. Ms. Zhou and Dinger Zhu are so anxious and are looking around for her everywhere. The girl is so bold as to escape." Xian was shocked and her face changed. She escaped. Yeah. Ms. Fang kept the gossip flowing. I never expected that this girl could be so stubborn. I thought she was a quiet one. But why did she run away when she was in the ancestral hall? Where can she go? Will she come back? She would receive even worse punishment when she returns because her grandparents are so angry now. Xian panicked. She did not give any response as her mind got confused. She had a feeling that Ding Xiang did not run out of the ancestral hall out of anger. More importantly, she felt that the girl was not going to come back. Chapter 241. The Ding family. She must have escaped and left Shaoding village. In fact, she might be planning to leave the county. Probably that was how she turned her life around and walked to the peak of her life. She had escaped. Did she save some extraordinary man who came to pay back his gratitude, so that they got married and she became rich due to her husband? The images she had seen about the girl must have happened after she reached the peak. She felt slightly better as she thought about these. At least she knew that after going through twists and turns, the girl would have a bright future. Otherwise, what would happen to a girl who ran away from her clan and drifted about outside? That thought made her feel anxious. Qiao Xian learned of the whole story from Ms. Fang. Ms. Zhou had wanted to give Ding Xiang some food and drink for dinner the night before, but 5th Grandma Ding was too annoyed to approve of this idea. She had lectured Ms. Zhou and ordered her not to give the girl any food. 5th Grandpa Ding was also very annoyed by how Ding Xiang humiliated them in front of the whole village, so he intended to make her reflect on herself and let her suffer. He also ordered not to give her any food, until she admitted her mistake. In 5th Grandpa Ding's opinion, she would not die just because she missed a meal. She needed to be seriously disciplined, so she could know what mistake she had made and that she would never dare to do it again. Ding Zhu cared for his daughter, but he was too obedient to counter what his daughter had said. He did not even raise his voice in front of his parents. Ms. Zhou became desperate. She cried throughout the night. The following morning, Ms. Zhou felt even more distressed. But she did not get any chance to shed tears. She had no choice but to make food whilst listening to her mother-in-law's horrible words. All the way until lunchtime, Ms. Zhou could not stand it anymore. She decided to sneak in a bowl of porridge for her daughter at the ancestral hall. However, she failed to find Ding Xiang at the ancestral hall. She looked everywhere, but Ding Xiang was nowhere to be seen. Mentally stimulated, Ms. Zhou staggered home and passed on the message, begging everyone to help her find the daughter. The Ding family got startled. Apart from Ms. Zhou and Ding Zhu, everyone else got furious about it. 5th Grandma Ding snapped. What? That damned girl ran away? How dare she run away from the ancestral hall? She better not come back, otherwise I will break her leg. 5th Grandpa Ding also trembled in anger. Unruly kid. This girl has to be lectured. The 1st and the 3rd sections of the family also made complaints. We are now the joke of the village again. 2nd brother and 2nd sister-in-law. How did you turn Ding Xiang into such a kid? I have never seen a girl as bold as this. She ran away from the ancestral hall. Damn. 2nd sister-in-law. Just don't keep crying. The girl must be hiding somewhere in the mountains and she will return when it turns dark. Otherwise, where would she go? Chapter 242. Nowhere to be seen. Ms. Zhou glared at her 3rd sister-in-law. Ms. Lu got startled by her unexpected glare. She became really furious after recovering a bit. She glared back and snapped. What are you staring at me for? Are you blaming me for not teaching your daughter well? 5th Grandma Ding sneered. What are all of you making a fuss about? It is a small issue. Just drop it. The damned girl can return when she is tired outside. I will teach her a good lesson. Also, Ms. Zhou, how dare you ignore what I told you? Who gave you the permit to give food to the damned girl? Just wait for your punishment. Ms. Zhou could not stand that anymore. She cried. How can you all be like this? Ding Xiang is missing. You are not looking for her but keep saying horrible words. If she is gone, I will kill myself too. Ms. Zhou rushed out. Ding Zhu went out with her as well. 5th Grandma Ding shouted. Stop it, second son, are you trying to rebel against me too? With his eyes turning red, Ding Zhu sobbed. Mom, that is my daughter. She is gone. What if something happens to her? I need to find her first, and I will receive your punishment when I find her. Having said the words, Ding Zhu rushed out. 5th Grandma Ding shouted. How dare you? I have raised you for nothing. The other sections of the family got startled and exchanged a look between themselves. No one had expected that the obedient 2nd section of the family rebelled due to Ding Xiang. They started to feel uneasy. It seemed as if something were falling out of their control. What happened to Ding Xiang and the Ding family soon spread all over the village. Some sighed and some laughed. Some even went out to seek the girl. After all, it was a living girl that was missing. Although they all grew up in the mountains, it was a very dangerous place. What if something happened for real? Fifth Grandpa Ding could not stand the humiliation. He ordered the other family members to look for her. Fifth Grandma Ding, who was still unwilling to do so, went out with the others after being lectured by Fifth Grandpa Ding. However, Ding Xiang was nowhere to be seen, even after half a day's search. They started to get anxious. The deeper they went, the more dangerous it would be. So more people went into the mountains to seek for the girl. Xiao Dalong and his brothers, who had just carried the mushrooms home, also went out to help. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan returned from the mountains and failed to find Ding Xiang after a while. Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xiaoqi even said that they never saw anyone on their way home. It was getting dark and even adults did not dare to stay in the mountains when it turned dark. So the villagers returned one after another, and decided to continue with the search the following day. They all knew that a teen girl would never end up well after spending a night in the mountains. Probably when they found her eventually after a few days, she would be a corpse already. Ms. Zhou came home crying loudly. Ding Zhu, who was dumbfounded, followed her. Xiao Yunduan stiffened, and lifted his arm, patting her lightly. Maybe, Xiao Yunduan was actually not very sure about it. Chapter 244 Separation. Ding Xiang had never been outside the village. A 15-year-old girl like her would definitely run into danger. Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian suspected that Ding Xiang had run away from the village, rather than in the mountains. The villagers spent 3 days but failed to find Ding Xiang. 3 days later, they stopped the search. It was all they could have helped with. They all believed that Ding Xiang must have died in the deep mountains. Either she fell into the valley and went unnoticed, or she had been eaten up by a beast. A young girl would not stay alive after spending 3 days in the deep mountains. No one except for Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan thought that she would have escaped the village. That was beyond their imagination. Most of the villagers had only been to the town a few times, and some had never been to the town in their entire lives. No girl in her teens would be assumed to run away from home on such a long trip. That was just the least they could think of. Ms. Zhou was so sad that she shouted at Fifth Grandma Ding and Fifth Grandpa Ding that it was their fault that her daughter died. Fifth Grandma Ding, who had been feeling a bit scared about her potential cause of her granddaughter's death, got even more furious hearing Ms. Zhou's blaming words. She slapped her twice, saying that she taught her daughter badly, and that it was her fault that Ding Xiang had done something like this. Ms. Zhou cried even harder. She wanted to live separately, or she was going to get a divorce. Fifth Grandma Ding and her husband trembled in anger. Fifth Grandma Ding forced Ding Zhu to divorce Ms. Zhou, so she did not have to see Ms. Zhou anymore, who would remind her of Ding Xiang and make her uncomfortable. But Ding Zhu did not agree. His daughter died and his son was only 3 years old. Now his mother was forcing him to divorce his wife? That was like killing him directly. Fifth Grandpa Ding was annoyed too. He agreed with them separating from the family, but not right now, otherwise his family's reputation would be ruined. But both Ding Zhu and Ms. Zhou made up their minds to leave the home directly. They even regretted not having agreed to live separately when their daughter said so. If they had done so on the other day, things would be different now. In fact, deep in their heart, they wanted to live separately too, just that they did not dare to say it out loud. Now their daughter was gone, they would definitely move out of the family for the sake of fulfilling her last wish. Fifth Grandpa Ding snapped and said that if Ding Zhu and Ms. Zhou would move out of their family, they would be removed from their household and they would have no attachment to the family. They would just pretend that they never had a son like him. Also, he did not need to support them when they got old. Fifth Grandpa Ding said so decisively because he wanted to frighten Ding Zhu and Ms. Zhou, in case they thought about living separately again. He expected them to move out after 3 or 5 years, when Ding Xiang's disappearance was forgotten about. They would just sit and talk about this peacefully at that time. But not right now. Fifth Grandpa Ding's decisive words made Ding Zhu and Ms. Zhou feel worse. They had just lost their daughter due to his parents' intimidating attitudes, But his parents did not even feel sorry. Instead, they said such hurtful things. It seemed that the elders did not seem to care about them at all. Chapter 245. Nothing attached. Had they been treated with respect, they would not have heard words like this. Hence, they nodded without hesitation. They wanted to move out of the family immediately, and started to live separately. Ding Erju even got a land officer and tribe chief as witnesses. Fifth Grandpa Ding was so surprised and frightened that he wanted to sneak into the ground out of humiliation. How could this obedient son of his become so stubborn? But he could not revoke his words. He would be even more humiliated if he went back on it. So the whole thing was solved directly. With the young son in their arms, Ding Erju packed some clothes whilst Ms. Zhou carried away 2 cages of her dowries and left the Ding family. Fifth Grandpa Ding was so fierce that he did not even give them any food. He expected them to come and beg for him when they could not survive. He would like to see how they could live. Ding Erju and his wife temporarily moved into a barren house close to the village. Many villagers showed sympathy and gave them some food. But it depended on them how they were going to survive. Ms. Fang did not like Fifth Grandma Ding, but she felt sorry for Ms. Zhou and Ding Erju. Though she kept saying that it was their own fault for being weak that they were in this state now. Yet that was their personality, which could not be changed easily. It was, after all, the old grandma of the Ding family who had caused all of these. Ms. Fang took a small pot, 2 sets of bowls and chopsticks, a wooden bucket, some rice, noodles, vegetables, oil, salt, and a dozen eggs from home, and asked Mrs. Su and Xianxia to send the things to the couple. They were rich enough to spare some stuff, and Ms. Fang was very generous. She said to Qiao Xian and smiled. You don't need to go over, it is really filthy there. Ms. Fang apparently was favoring Qiao Xian, and if the other daughter-in-laws of hers were stingy enough, they would get angry as to why they were told to go, but not Qiao Xian. But Ms. Su and Xianxia did not find it wrong, let alone having anything against that. But Qiao Xian felt a bit guilty about it. She felt that it was not so good when her mother-in-law showed the bias so blatantly. It is fine, Mom. I can go and see them. Qiao Xian smiled and picked up the basket of eggs. Ms. Fang believed that she was just curious. She smiled. All right then, you can go and check it if you want to. Qiao Xian really wanted to have a look at the couple. Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou as well as their son had broken their relationship with Fifth Grandpa Ding, and their life must be hard. Ms. Zhou was not very healthy and they had a 3-year-old to take care of. Qiao Xian and Ding Xiang exchanged a few words and they wondered when Ms. Zhou and Ding Erju would manage to get back to their feet. She wanted to go and visit them, so if she asked them for help later, the proposal would not be so sudden. When Qiao Xian and her team arrived, the villagers were there too. They were all curious about how such a thing happened because it had never happened in decades in the village. At this moment, Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou had already got many things piled up in their house, which were all gifts from the villagers. They had even repaired the house with wood and straws. Chapter 246. Fifth Grandpa Ding's Grudge. The vegetables sent by others were all vegetables produced in the field, and at most 1 bowl of rice, or a bowl of leftovers was added. Seeing that Ms. Fang and her family was so generous, who had given rice and noodles, it would add up to 10 kilograms. There were more than a dozen eggs, so they were all shocked. You are so generous, Ms. Fang. There are eggs too. Oh, they are so rich. They all turned to Qiao Xian subconsciously, and thought without any hesitation. The first section of the Qiao family had a very rich daughter-in-law, so they were offering so much. I am just here visiting you all. Ms. Fang smiled, feeling both proud and happy. Her daughter-in-law was not only rich, generous but also very good at making money. But she needed to keep a low profile, otherwise they were all going to be even more jealous. Ms. Zhou and Ding Erju were shocked. Ms. Zhou shed tears. Ms. Fang, this is so generous of you. We have eggs. Just keep them for the child. Ms. Fang patted Ms. Zhou's hands, feeling a bit sorry for her who looked pale and skinny as well as the starved boy next to her. Ms. Zhou felt her heart break, and could not turn down her offer. Thank you, she sobbed. They could not help but console her, seeing her shedding tears. When it started to get late, they all went home to make food. Ms. Qiao and Ms. Fang left as well. Ms. Fang added. We are all living in the same village. If you ever need any help, just tell us, don't be shy. Ms. Zhou and Ding Erju nodded and sobbed. Thank you so much, Ms. Fang. When everyone else was gone, the small house was quiet again. Ms. Zhou and Ding Erju felt so sorrowful and relaxed as well. But they seemed to have seen hope ahead. Ding Erju said, I will go and dig a field tomorrow. I will not allow you two to get hungry. We will get better, little by little. Ms. Zhou nodded and sounded nasal. But, Ding Xiang, her daughter was gone forever. Ms. Zhou could not help but sob. Don't cry. Ding Erju patted her on her shoulders, and could not stop shedding tears too. He regretted having lived like this for the past few years. Yet it was too late to think about this now. No matter what else he could do, his daughter was gone, forever. Fifth Grandpa Ding was also aware that the fellow villagers had delivered some things to Ding Erju and his wife, but he did not stop them. It would have made him look too cruel. But they would not deliver any food to them because they would not bend down for them. Fifth Grandpa Ding felt a bit annoyed. He did not like it when Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou had no idea what they ought to do. They should not be blamed for Ding Xiang's disappearance. It was Ding Xiang's fault that she was gone. She was a grandchild who should have obeyed her grandparents' words rather than do everything on her own. She not only countered them, but also humiliated them. Also, she did not listen to his suggestions. Worse, she ran away from the ancestral hall and ended up dead. So what? It was all her fault. Chapter 247 Kind-hearted. It was completely her fault. Ding Erju had been obedient for so many years, but he countered them so fiercely. The whole family had become just too troublesome. At the first section of the Xiao family, when Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan went back to their own room, Qiao Xian sighed to Xiao Yunduan. Ms. Zhou and her family are so pitiful. I would like to help them. Xiao Yunduan frowned. His wife was too kind-hearted. He understood that she was feeling sorry for them, and she would feel bad if she did not offer them some support. Xiao Yunduan asked, What is your plan? Fifth Grandpa Ding is a stubborn man, and Fifth Grandma Ding is absolutely unreasonable. If Uncle Erju and his family live a bad life, then they would be forgotten gradually, but if their lives get better while they are still here in the village, I am afraid that there will be more trouble in the future. I don't want them to trouble you. It was never a good thing to get involved with Fifth Grandma Ding and Fifth Grandpa Ding. Qiao Xian smiled in return. Don't worry. I know what to do. My plan is to ask Uncle Erju if they are interested in shifting and helping us take care of the field at the Zhang village. In this way, they should be far away from Fifth Grandpa Ding's family as well. Xiao Yunduan's eyes sparkled as he grinned. That is a good idea. Don't worry. Let's just follow this plan. Qiao Xian nodded. She needed to conduct the plan gradually. Also, they wondered if Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou had their own thoughts for the future. They should not disturb their plan either. Qiao Xian felt a bit tired after spending 2 days in the mountains. She planned to make lipsticks in the floral field at home in the near future. Ms. Su and Yang Xiaoni were still removing weeds. Hence, only Qiao Xian and Xiao Tao Tao were busy making lipsticks. As for Xiao Xiaoqi, he had just run into the mountains alone for a walk. He was used to running in the hills. Despite being young, he was very rich in experience, so no one stopped him. In the evening, after Ms. Su and all left, Qiao Xian went to the floral field alone. She had a basket with her. She had told the family about getting the wolfberry sprout home for frying. But in fact, she was there to pour in her superpower. The pomegranate flowers would not bloom until some days later, but Qiao Xian could not wait. She wanted to use the flowers to make lipsticks, and she needed to use her superpower to hasten the process. Also, she was going to try and make the tea trees grow. She concentrated hard and her superpower moved with her heart. An invisible energy wave spread out layer by layer like ripples on the water surface. Under her control, all of them went in the direction she wanted. A quarter of an hour later, Qiao Xian relaxed and let out a sigh of relief. She looked at the pomegranate flowers, bright and red hanging on the branches of the trees. Most of them had already bloomed. By the time she came tomorrow, they would all bloom. Apart from these, There were new flowers that were yet to bloom. Those transplanted tea saplings had also taken root and the leaves were green. They were full of energy, and there was no slack in the slightest. Satisfied, Xianxia hummed and went to pick the wolfberry sprouts. She picked up a small patch of wolfberry, which was growing brightly. The sprouts had spread and the wolfberries were ready. Chapter 248 Xiaoxian's bad feelings. Within a short while, Xiaoxian filled in half a basket and left the remaining ones for frying. They would be made to cook egg and wolfberry sprouts. After she left the floral field, she ran into Ms. Zhang from the second section of the family. Xiaoxian smiled and called out second sister-in-law out of politeness, when Ms. Zhang reacted with a smile. What a coincidence, fifth sister-in-law. Yes. Xiaoxian nodded and smiled. Bye. Hey, fifth sister-in-law. Ms. Zhang stopped her and looked at her basket. The wolfberry is very fresh. Xiaoxian confusedly let out a response. Ah yes. She wondered what Ms. Zhang wanted to say. Ms. Zhang smiled. It looks so fresh. I heard that you have many wolfberry sprouts planted in your floral field. Maybe I can go inside and get some as well? Xiaoxian. Wolfberry sprouts were not precious things, and she had many in the field. There were still a whole bunch left. Theoretically speaking, she should have said yes to this second sister-in-law. However, Ms. Zhang was from the second section of the family, and she did not want her to see what was inside the floral field. She could not let her see the lipstick tubes, the bee boxes or the trees including the tea trees. Xiaoxian smiled. I can share half of it with you. You are so generous. I like you so much. Ms. Zhang smiled and added. But I don't want to just take your things. I can pick them up myself. I would like to see what your floral field is like. Fifth sister-in-law, you won't be so stingy as not to let me in, right? Xiaoxian got disgusted. Ms. Zhang was trying to morally kidnap her. She would be stingy for not letting her in? Then okay. Second sister-in-law, I have got all the wolfberry sprouts and the wolfberries inside aren't big enough for the sprouts to come out. If you want, you can have mine in the basket. All right, that is fine. Ms. Zhang was a sneaky person. She had wanted to take them, but she did not want to just take the stuff. She wanted to get a look at the whole floral field. But I just want to see your floral field. Why not let me in? I see the elder sister-in-law, third sister-in-law and Tao Tao keep going inside. Maybe I can help you too? Xiaoxian's face sank. No thanks, they are enough. Fifth sister-in-law. I always ask Mom for approval. How about you asking her what she thinks? Ms. Zhang got stuck. Ms. Fang would never approve of this request. She knew very well that Ms. Fang was sneaky and stingy. Ms. Zhang smiled staggered. We can talk about this later. Xiaoxian smiled politely. Okay, I need to go now. Bye. With that she left. Ms. Zhang saw Xiaoxian going away and her face sank. She was not pleased at all. Bah! She spat on the ground and mumbled. What are you putting on an act for? Chapter 249 Dumbfounded Ms. Zhang was not interested in Xiaoxian's floral field. She just wanted to get close to Xiaoxian. If she was able to persuade Xiaoxian to let her work for her, she could earn 10 won a day easily, which would be great for her. But she also understood that the likelihood of it happening was very small. Hence, she thought about borrowing money from Xiaoxian. Her brother's wife was soon going to give birth to a baby, and they needed money. But her mother-in-law was too stingy to loan her any money, so she had to come up with some other ideas. She had 2 sisters and 1 brother. The 3 sisters were all taught to treat their brother well since they were young. They were repeatedly told that the brother was the only offspring of the Zhang family. Their brother had a sweet tongue and he treated his sisters well. So the sisters were good to him too, and continued to help him even after they got married. Now his wife was going to give birth and she had to get some money and other things to help him. She had been watching Xiaoxian these days, and wanted to get close to her. But Xiaoxian barely stepped out of the house. Moreover, she was always with someone, so she never got the chance to speak with her. So Ms. Zhang went to the floral field to meet Xiaoxian, when she heard that Xiaoxian was there alone. But she was still a bit too late to run into Xiaoxian inside. Otherwise, she could just have exchanged some more words with her alone. She could even help Xian do some work at the time, so that Xian would not turn her down if she made a small request. Also, she never expected that Xian was so blunt. She had said it so straightforwardly, and Xian should have at least approved this small request since they were in the same family. Why was she not allowed to see the floral field? But Xian just turned her down. She could also tell that Xian had no interest in speaking with her, let alone getting close to her. She needed to find another opportunity to speak with her alone. But the chance was very slim. Ms. Zhang was so annoyed that she had no idea what to do. Xian did not bother about this encounter. She was not even afraid of Ms. Niu. How could she be afraid of Ms. Zhang? What she had not expected was that second uncle and third uncle came to their home again. Both of them were very displeased. They kept blaming Xian for hiring cousins rather than them, and said that it was not at all reasonable on her part. She had promised to hire them when she had some more work to do. Xian told the others that she paid 10 won a day, which second uncle and third uncle were happy to accept. It was always good to get some payment. Xian did not turn them down. She nodded and smiled. Okay, but have you forgotten about the rakes we made for you? You can count and see how much labor you owe us. You can pay back what you owe us and then we can talk about payment. Both second uncle and third uncle were dumbfounded. They had already forgotten about the labor, but for Xian who mentioned that. How much labor was that? It was worth more than 20 days. So, they needed to work for the second section of the family for free before they were able to get paid. You're tuning in to the Wisdom Diary YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.